Welcome to Heist. I'm Bradley Hackworth, joined by Jonathan Ems, otherwise known as Doc.
Hello, fellow humans.
This week we are going to be covering Ready to Rumble and Secret Ballot, two films that could not be more different. They couldn't be more different
Oof.
if they were designated at the start. We want you to make two films that are the exact opposite. They would have not been able to do this.
No, no,
Oh
it's
man,
true.
I had so much fun with honestly both of these. One had a lot of memories tied to it. One, kind of cool to see a different point of view on life. Weirdly enough,
That's what I
it
found
is
fascinating
not the
about it.
one that,
Yeah.
the ones that you think I'm referring to may not be the ones you think.
Oh, really? Okay. All right. I guess
I
we'll get
was
into
not
it.
a wrestling kid. I was not a wrestling fan when I was a kid. That wasn't the world I was like when I was a
Well,
little kid. Yeah, man. Macho Man, Randy Savage, Hollywood Hulk
oh,
Hogan,
sure.
sure. But by the
See, yeah.
time The Rock and all of them got into it, I was already out.
Okay. See, yeah. By the time this movie came out, and some of those guys they have in there, Goldberg and those guys and Sting, I had heard of them, but yeah, I had stepped away. I was a wrestling kid. I was pretty into it when I was a kid. I think I stopped. See, I think I was about 10, 11 years old when I actually saw a wrestling match live with Hulk Hogan. And it was maybe, I don't know, maybe a year or two after that that I kind of started losing interest.
Wow. So
Um,
okay. So if I would have actually gone to a show, I may have retained my interest further through life because
mhm.
I never actually saw the shows. I just saw like the fighting moves when I was a kid. I
Oh,
never
sure. Yeah.
got into the drama of it because
Oh, yeah.
I didn't watch at that point.
Okay.
So
Yeah. No, I actually
yeah.
watched the shows. I would, yeah, I was into some of the drama. I mean, like he even says in the movie, there's a little bit of soap opera sprinkled in. I was one of those kids who was into the soap opera part of the fights. So yeah.
Yes, yeah, I feel like if I would have actually paid attention to one of the shows a little bit closer, I may have become one of those guys, but nope. However, the secret ballot, that was something that I have some personal connections to because when I was in the army, that was a big part of what we would do. We would go from village to village, we would check on them, we would see how everything is
Mhm.
going. At very, very much like what the agent and secret ballot is doing. And that was so yeah, as an American, you would not think that my connections would be to the movie that it is. But it definitely
See,
was.
what I found fascinating about it, and I'll get into that, but that's one of the things that I found, like even as an American, um, one of the things I found fascinating the first time I saw this movie wasn't just the foreign aspect of it, but also the fact that um, what I um, it's not just about voting; it's about rural voting. This isn't just in Iran. This is in a very isolated rural part of Iran. So, like, it's as much of an attachment for me as I would be if I were visiting like some small town in Alabama and talking politics with them, you know? So that's kind of what I found fascinating about that is this, you know, this agent from the city who's super into like everybody's got to vote, going around to all these villages where voting really doesn't matter to these people at all, you
Not
know?
even a little bit.
Yeah.
Their
So,
problems are very much just right in front of their faces.
yep.
All
So
right,
yeah,
but what do you
we're
say we get
starting
into
with
Ready to Rumble?
Ready to Rumble, yes.
All right. Now, okay, so the starring and the width in this one, it's going to take me a little bit because
Oh,
it
this was
just is.
surprisingly star-studded. Yeah.
I know. Ready to Rumble, directed by Brian Robbins, written by Steve Brill, starring David Arquette, Oliver Platt, and Scott Caan, with Bill Goldberg, Rose McGowan, Dallas Diamond Page, Richard Lineback, Chris Owen, Steve Borden as Sting, Martin
Mhm.
Landau, Caroline Rhea. Total surprise to see Caroline Rhea.
Caroline Rhea and Martin Landau were two absolute shockers for sure.
And Ellen Albertini Dow and Joe Pantoliano.
Oh yeah, Joe Pant, big Pantalone Joey Pants fans over here. Like anytime he's going to show up, we're going to talk about it.
You gotta give the man credit. I mean, the more movies I see, I cannot believe how many movies he's in that I did not realize he was in.
Right, yeah.
Like, it's kind of nuts. All right, with y'all ready? Bam Bam Bigelow, Eduardo Hernandez, Mark Hildreth, Kurt Hennig, Mike Hayner, Glenn Gilberti, Peter Gruner, Charles Ashenhoff. Charles? Is that supposed to be Charles and I misspelled something? Whoops.
Possibly.
Somebody Ashenhoff, Ray
Oh, he's gonna like
Mysterio.
that.
Oh, yeah. Harry Saturn, the Macho Man, Randy Savage. I
Randy
love that.
fucking Savage.
Love it. The man so strong, God had to kill him twice. Booker Huffman, Sid City Udy, and realistically others. I mean, you have the whole
Yeah.
Nitro team, you have all of this. And
Basically, yeah, like, well, and here's the one that threw me. Here, like, I didn't realize the visceral reaction I was gonna have when Mean Gene Oakland showed up on screen. Like,
oh,
that dude, like, you can sit here and name all these names: Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, fucking The Rock, like, you know, even Goldberg and Steve Austin, all these guys. You can name all these names of, like, depending on when you were into wrestling, these are the
yeah,
guys you
right.
knew. Mean Gene Okerlund was wrestling for 30 straight years. And I had not realized, like, who he was the standard bearer. He was this through line. His voice, when I heard his voice again on this movie, there was a part of me that suddenly was 10 years old again, and it really fucked with me. Like,
Well, that's the
and
magic of a good movie, though. I mean,
yeah,
that's what it's supposed to do. And something like this, it really does. It connects to almost every generation of people who are alive. Actually, I think
yeah,
it does connect to every generation of people who are alive. It This is, I mean, the fathers and sons have been taking their kids to go see wrestling and to bond over this forever.
oh sure, yeah,
And I'm sure mothers and daughters too. I've never met any.
right, yeah. That's
I don't
probably a
know.
different family. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a family I don't know.
yeah,
Probably would have really enjoyed knowing that family, but no, I never met that one.
yeah.
We open on narration from Scott Caan about Jimmy King, which winds up being a lecture to those kids.
Mhm.
And then you get, oh, that mega douchebag store clerk coming out and the over the top acting, which really plays into that fantasy.
It really, really does. Yeah, like that's kind of what's interesting about this movie is this entire movie plays like one big wrestling match in a lot of ways, including like the backstage shit talking. Everybody in this movie talks like they're doing wrestler shit talking backstage.
Definitely.
Yep.
But the fact that almost the entire movie is all mega wrestling fans,
Hmm.
you can tell that they're doing it on purpose, which by the way, this movie was kind of a hit job on wrestling fans and making fun of them and all this stuff. Problem is
Which
they had too much fun doing it and
that's the thing.
it was too entertaining.
Well, and and I've said this before. Hit jobs like that have never worked. They've always become fan favorites.
Yep.
But the funny thing about this is that the movie had all of these actual wrestling fans and wrestlers in them, and especially considering a lot of these wrestlers are openly and freely and happily taking them own selves down a peg. You know,
They're all
yeah,
laughing at themselves. They're all making fun of
exactly.
themselves. They're all
You
doing
got
it.
those two guys. I can't remember which one. These two wrestlers who are like not small names. They're big. They're up there in the echelons, and they're willing to get their asses handed to them by Martin fucking Landau. How do you not respect that? How do you not respect the fuck out of that? And so that alone goes like, of course, wrestling fans are gonna love this, even though they are technically poorly portrayed in this movie. This clearly like this was fun for the guys that they have fun with. So
Yep. Just like the Book of Mormon, they may be making fun of Mormons, but it is Mormons making fun of Mormons, and that's what made it work.
yeah, exactly.
Ex-Mormons making fun of Mormons.
Ex Mormon. Yeah.
They know the whole world. They know all the right jokes to say. They know everything to really hit home on. They're
Yeah.
not making fun of the things that people make fun of. They're literally making fun of it And honestly, you got to imagine the wrestling fans just kind of felt seen.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Instead
probably.
instead of ridiculed, like that's kind of how I saw it.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, and also like, okay, yeah, our two main protagonists are, I mean, they are just another version of Beavis and Butthead. These are not like, shining examples of the American education system in any way, shape, or form. But
Nope.
everyone around them is worse. Like they are the two best people in this movie, save for maybe Sting and Goldberg.
About to say, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
but that's kind of Goldberg's thing. Like, even as I remember, he was like the people's champion and
Hmm.
all that stuff. Like, just he was always a good dude,
Yeah.
which kind of reminds me. I remember like an episode of Punked, and it was either Goldberg or it was Steve Austin, and one of them, it was like like a manager was just treating a waiter horribly right in front of him, and they were looking for his reaction. And then he just got all like big and tough and just kind of like slowly kept getting into the manager's face. And he's like, you should leave him alone. And I'm like, that is the people's champion, man, right there. And they were like, whoa, whoa, whoa. It's a show. It's a prank. It's a show. It's a prank.
Nice.
Which
Nice.
major credit to the man for being that kind of guy.
Yeah.
Like, just awesome. David Arquette sees everything through those wrestling goggles. The
Mm.
lighting is different. The insults that come across and everything. Just, I was having a lot of fun with that. And you get into that fantasy wrestling match where Oliver Platt, our first kind of real look at Oliver Platt as Jimmy
Right.
King.
Yep.
And did you notice in the bloopers afterwards that
Yes. So yeah,
Oliver
the
Platt
scene.
punched Macho Man right across the face?
And wow, yeah. Like that's
His
so yeah,
reaction to that.
we've got David Arquette's character having a fantasy that he's being attacked by Macho Man Randy Savage, and James King, played by Oliver Platt, comes in to rescue him. And then we see in outtakes in the movie that in that fake fight that Oliver Platt has with Macho Man, he accidentally actually hits Macho Man right square in the face.
And let's be real. I mean, yes, Macho Man, that was a tough ass dude.
Yeah.
Oliver Platt was not a little fella.
No, he was not. No.
I
And
mean, I don't know how much that hurt Macho Man Randy Savage,
it
but
would have
that
been
would have
nice
hurt me.
it would have been nice to see the aftermath of that, to like
True.
see to like, I would like to have seen Oliver Platt turn to Macho Man and go, "Okay, you get one." Okay. That would have been a funny outtake to see.
That would have been. Oh, that would have been. Oh my god. But you got this. Like, okay, so this is where you really like it tells you who this movie is for very, very early on. Because
Yeah.
David Arquette, he gonna stick his finger up his butt, and then he goes in to get a free refill on a freezy by having the guy smell it and just putting his finger right next to where the guy smells it. Funny, I'll give you that.
Right.
Very funny, but that is a very particular kind of humor, and
Yeah.
this movie is definitely the young male adult. That's probably that's the demographic, right?
If I were to wager a guess, yeah, I'd say the young adult male. Yes. Probably 15, 16-ish, somewhere around there.
Very, very much so, because there were some lines in here that just the where the inner 10-year-old and you came out when you saw like
Mean
Mean
Gene.
Gene.
Yep.
When it came to moments like foreign objects, like the inner teenager in me lost his damn mind, and I was rolling over that. Oh god, yeah. And that line where he's like, "How did you drink this?" I struggled through most of it. The butt fruit settled at the bottom.
Fruit salad,
Oh,
yeah.
oh, the
That was my
visualization of that.
that was
That is
my
not
first,
okay.
"Oh my god, who wrote this?" moment. That was where it hit me. Even the finger up the butt part I was rolling with until he actually said the words "butt fruit." Then I was like, "Oh my god, what am I
Which
in for here?"
David Arquette is absolutely hilarious.
Mhm.
That is a well-known fact.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know, like I could very easily see that as having been improv
Okay. Okay. I can
because it's
see that.
David Arquette. Because David
That's
Arquette's
true.
a comedy, like his humor is it's pretty spot on in all the things that he's in.
Yeah.
Um, which watching him go into a movie where he is obsessed with Sasha Rose McGowan as a Nitro girl,
Right.
after watching Scream where they played siblings,
Right.
that was really jarring for me. Like you go from deputy dumb shit to like trying to seduce him. That was a weird week for me. I'm not gonna lie. Now because I watched them like 2 days apart and I was like, wow.
See, and I thought that was pretty funny too because I'm like, okay, they did Scream together, and then I'm assuming Arquette, when he was put into this movie, he was the one who when they're like when they're casting that role, he was like, oh, let's get Rose, like she'll have fun with this, and she did. She clearly had fun with the role, but that's kind of like I'm wondering how that conversation went, where he's just like, hey, you want to play the chick that I bang in this movie, like.
Honestly, her like I felt I've kind of often wondered about Rose McGowan's sense of humor for the roles that she has taken because she takes the roles, but the performance she gives in those roles is always very stern and everything like that. So I just wonder if she's really, really good at that, or if she really does enjoy doing those roles as much as it seems.
I would imagine that she genuinely enjoys them, and I'm doing that. I'm basing that entirely on the fact how long she stuck around doing Cursed.
Okay, fair.
Yep.
That's fair. Then we get oh yeah, Scotty Caan is frisked by Sergeant Dad and David and yet like so David Arquette, his the character who plays
Sorry,
his
my
dad.
bad. Charmed, not Cursed. The show is called Charmed. Why the hell
I
did I
assumed
call
you
it
meant
Cursed?
Charmed. I assumed you meant Charmed, but I also wasn't sure if there was a show named Cursed that I didn't know about. So I was just
Okay,
gonna roll with it.
that's what I meant.
So
I meant Charmed. Sorry, Charmed fans. I know we must have some out there. I did not
well yeah,
mean
and
to.
she was the late addition to that show, right? She replaced
I'm
Shannon Doherty.
pretty sure that was the case. Yes. I mean, I have to double check on that, but yeah, she was the one
I
who
can't
came in
remember.
to replace Shannon, and yeah, and they stuck with her for a while. She stayed there for the next like 3, 4 seasons after that. So
I
that show was on for a long time.
it was, and I think I watched all of it, but it's been too long. Couldn't tell you.
Mm.
Uh, yeah, when that dad shows up and he's frisking Khan, and that
That
was a
was
little bit
that was
too
a
much. It was,
wildly weird, but I think, of course, it's supposed to be. But again, like I said, like we have our two main characters who are dipshits, but everyone around them are worse. So, and this is an example of that. This guy was terrible.
yeah, goes in and just right for a crotch grab, and then which is weird because the whole rest of the movie is like, you're not going to be touching other men. Like you did more man touching than anybody else in this movie, good sir.
I can't help but feel like this character is based on someone's actual father.
I could see that. However, that actor plays that character a few times and pretty well. He's
Mm.
also the dad in Varsity Blues that is like uh what is it? Paul Walker's dad.
Right, right, right. Okay.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
plays that scummy, like kind of obnoxious dad super well, which I still don't know if that's a compliment or a diss to the man to say things like that. But I mean, it was
You'd have to meet him in person and see how far apart his actual personality is to know the answer to that.
there you go. That's like people talking about Anthony Starr and Homelander and how similar they are. He's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
that is not a compliment, you guys.
Yeah.
But it's because like when he's doing PR, he's sitting there, he's like grinding his teeth and he just doesn't want to be there. And it's like, no, I'm sure you can find that for any celebrity. It's just really fun to point it out with this particular one. But oh yeah, and then he's coming back, he's like, wrestling's fake. And the unbelievable scream. Like David Arquette does that scream. He does it in a lot of his roles, but
Hmm.
weirdly, whenever he does it, it's not annoying, and I don't know how he pulls that off.
That is a really good question. Yeah. He's
Like
good at that.
I've seen a lot of other actors they do that, and I'm like, when he does it, it's like it's funny. I have no idea why. Maybe I just
Hmm.
like him more. Cruising to work and celebrating Monday Night Nitro. The over the top dickish construction workers
Yep.
coming through and just treating
Like,
us like, dude, these like,
again, everybody
go
in
ahead.
this movie is worse. Yeah. Same thing.
Yes, absolutely. Everybody in this movie is just worse than them. And I like that moment before Caan goes in to use the porta potty that they went to go clean. And turns around, he's like, "Friends don't do it to friends."
Right.
And I definitely, we both knew it was coming. Something
Yep.
was coming. I wasn't sure
Right.
what it was. I thought it was going to be the opposite, but what he does is he hooks up a vacuum uh to it, and he winds up like basically almost sucking Caan into the porta potty, like
Right. Yeah.
into the toilet part of it, which honestly is hilarious. And as a
Way,
friend, I
way
would
less
do that to
destructive.
many of my friends.
Sure. Yeah.
The one that it would go the other way and blow stuff through it, no, I wouldn't do
No. No.
that
No.
to, like, I would do that to
That's
maybe
not
my
you.
best friend, but I wouldn't, like, but that's it.
That's not something you can walk away from. But this was at least something you can walk away from. There's no other. All the other scenarios that came into my head when they started setting it up were all shit you cannot walk away from. So
No, not as close friends at least. But
yeah,
that is kind of thing. That is a thing that you can only do to your very best friend.
for sure.
Anybody
Yeah.
else is gonna walk out of there and kill you.
Yeah.
Uh, ordering from Brittany, but then Wendy steps up. Like this movie didn't need that moment. It didn't need
No.
any of this. However, the way that they paid off the whole Wendy thing,
Yeah.
it actually paid it off really funny and a great joke.
It
So
was.
I
Yeah.
don't know
No.
if I can knock it.
Well, it was, and yeah, it was a weird kind of addition. Yeah, you didn't kind of need that whole like ex girlfriend that he's still pining for. Like literally, there was no point to that part of the story until the 2 minutes where he comes back into town, blows her off, and then goes to the other chick. And which again was another 2 minutes that basically had nothing to do with anything else in the story other than yeah, one really good laugh, but but yeah, I imagine there's probably some things in the first draft that stuck around by accident. Was my guess.
You know what? I could see that, but this movie, it was too much fun. I mean,
Yeah,
the more goofy shit that you threw at the walls in this one, I feel like the more it made sense.
yeah, and well, and none of it took me out. Like at no point, like yeah, like
Thank you.
yeah, I mean, we were sitting here like talking how like this is an unnecessary storyline. In the moment, I didn't care. Like I'm not sitting here going like,
Yeah.
what are they wasting their time with this Brenda Wendy shit? Come on,
No, like because it was
get back
funny.
to yeah, exactly, yeah. Especially in the payoff, like how it went 90 miles an hour all of a sudden out of nowhere. That was the funny part of it.
That I will agree with you. Like the whole thing
Yeah,
was set up just for a punchline, and I think they probably reverse engineered went from the punchline and went, how do we get this into the story?
you're
But it
probably
didn't
not
matter.
wrong.
It was just funny, and I had a good time with that.
Yeah.
Then after they get their food, sitting there eating on the back of that truck, just watching the leaking
Oh
stuff.
my
I
god.
was waiting. My anxiety was climbing, waiting for something to happen, and it just
Yeah.
never did. And I feel like that was
Because
definitely the right call because nothing
because
but
it was kind of
uncomfortable.
it was more I think it was that for that moment they weren't going for a gag, they weren't setting up for gag, they were just like
This is their
that
life.
exactly, like this whole part up until we see the first match is just showing who these guys are, and who these guys are dipshits in a dipshit world is basically who they are, and that includes eating their hamburgers sitting on the back of a poop truck that's leaking right next to them, and they don't seem to fucking notice.
They don't. Either they don't notice or they just don't care because they're that used to it.
Yeah, yeah,
That's where I was kind of taking that. Uh, and then we get the bracelets, which I don't know if this is still a thing. It doesn't seem like we live in a world where this is a thing. But the "What would Jesus do" bracelets.
yeah. I haven't seen them as much lately, but I feel like they're still a thing, sort of.
I feel like they should be. I don't feel like that's a thing that would disappear. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. But like I said, I don't feel like I live in a world where people think that way. Just putting that out there.
Yeah, no, yeah,
But putting this out there as well. Ellen Albertini Dow is never a miss. She is the queen of cameos. I have
Oh, you're
decided
talking
this.
the old
The old
lady that was
lady.
the only other fan of James King in town. And oh yeah, she had a grand total of what, 6 minutes in this movie, and she
Not
stole the
even,
fucking
I'm gonna
scene.
say 2 minutes.
Oh, that's true.
Maybe.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, because like
Maybe.
maybe 2 minutes, and yeah, and she's absolutely unforgettable in every moment in every frame she's in. 100%. I agree. Yeah.
Which is the same thing for every other movie that she's in. Like she pops in and she just says something wildly inappropriate, usually. Um, like there's that scene in The Wedding Singer where she pays Adam Sandler with meatballs, and then at the end of
Right.
the movie, she's singing Sugar Hill Gang.
Yep. Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
dude, she is
national
amazing.
treasure, that one.
Yes, she is. The cop dad reminds him about the seminar tomorrow, and the wrestling show begins with Joey Pants as Ed McMahon, and he
Ed
tell
McMahon ish. For legal reasons, he
yes,
can't actually be Ed McMahon, but he's Ed McMahon for sure. Yeah.
yeah, no, he's playing Ed McMahon. That is what he is doing,
Yeah.
100% through and through. And then because Jimmy King just sucks,
Yeah.
he decides to give DDP his night. And this is kind of a funny note. Ellen Albertini Dow just proving me correct. Because she goes like she kicks on some like leather pants and all this, and she's
Yeah.
jumping up on her couch, and I'm just like, oh my god, I
This
love
is
this woman.
yeah, she is a lifelong fan, and she still is. And like this is a lady who knows what she loves in life and is still loving every part of it. And you can't help
Yes,
but go, this is like, that's amazing.
that is the
I
grandmother
want
we all would
Yes, I
love to
want her
have.
as my next door neighbor.
There you
Absolutely,
go.
100%. Yeah,
Oh yeah, that's the lady that the whole neighborhood goes to check in on and make sure she's like everything's
100.
okay. It's like, no, we're not done getting memories with her yet.
Exactly. Yes.
DDP and King's entrances. King's big old bravado of the stage, and he
The,
has that unbelievably stupid, corny theme song that he raps.
right.
Man,
Yes.
wrestling.
Well, and
Oh,
this is where I kind of like was amazed because first of all, this twofold, two parts to this. And first of all, it has both to do with both Oliver Platt and Rose McGowan. They both unfortunately fell victim to this in this movie. This isn't the only movie that's done this to me, but it is one of those kind of fourth wall breaking moments for me sometimes when they do this in movies, where you've got Oliver Platt, who's supposed to be playing like he's Hulk Hogan. He's the guy who's been the champion for the long time, so that's who he is. He's a stand-in for the Hulk Hogan legend. All right, and so
mm-hmm.
yeah, he's supposed to be a little bit older, not quite as in shape as all the other guys, but when you stand him next to other actual wrestlers, it becomes viciously obvious how much he doesn't. You can buy, like, if it was just Oliver Platt standing there going, like, yeah, I'm a pro wrestler, you'd be like, oh, I could see that. Until another pro wrestler walks in, and then you're like, oh, fuck you, buddy. What are you talking about?
No,
And that's what they did to Oliver Platt.
Oliver Platt has the body of Andre the Giant without the size.
Exactly, yes. And the
And
same thing happened.
but they got away with it because he keeps showing up to shows drunk. Like he used to be
Yes, and
king of
well,
the cage.
and that's what
And
was interesting was the fact that when he did get the mic in his hand and he starts doing his whole like I'm gonna take you down and turn you into one of my ladies in waiting, like that whole bit. I'm like, that was shocking for me because I'm like, this is a motherfucker who's been watching wrestling his entire life because I have never seen it done better than that by anyone who wasn't in the actual pro wrestling thing. When you see other actors try to do like, okay, I'm going to be a pro wrestler now, and they do the bit, then none of them have ever done it as well as he did right there. Like
no, like
he,
Mickey Rourke, the whole movie, The Wrestler, like he
mm,
did amazing stuff in there, but no, just the vamping and stuff like that. No,
yeah,
no. Oliver Platt, he
Oliver,
nailed that.
I bought him as a pro wrestler at that moment when he's doing the trash talk bit in the ring. I'm like, oh, okay, no, there it is. That's the
He's got
king
the
right
voice.
there.
He's got
Yes,
the voice that really that absolutely sold it.
but yeah, and
Uh
then also they did the same thing to Rose McGowan. Rose McGowan looks amazing, but when you surround her with a half a dozen other Nitro girls, you're like, oh no,
yeah, no, she a little toothpick.
yeah, she needs to go back to the gym. That's what.
Yeah, I mean, I love Rose McGowan,
Yeah, me too.
obviously.
When it was
I
just
almost have
her,
a painting of her behind me.
there you go. Yeah. But when it was
It,
just her, she looked amazing. When the other Nitro Girls came towering over her.
Little obvious that she wasn't a Nitro girl.
Right,
But
yeah.
everyone hates Sinclair and that the I made you attitude,
Oh
which
yeah. Yep.
ugh. And he gives him that hint. He's that just wanted to have our final moment together. And you kind of get that look on Jimmy Page where on his face. He's like he might see it coming.
Right.
But there's a lot of ego in there and no. The wrestlers encouraging one another during the match was honestly weirdly heartwarming.
Yeah.
Like just good job, man, good job, baby. Like all this stuff. Like I really enjoy that. And if that is how that really happens in real life, I just I want that. I want that to be true because that's cool.
Right. Yeah. I always imagined it was. I do, and one clue in I got that actually is how it goes. Um, I actually once got to see Rowdy Roddy Piper do stand up comedy in Portland once. I don't know how it
Stand up.
happened. Yeah, well, I think it was kind of a lark kind of thing where I was there for a comedy show, and I think someone found out he was in town and talked him into basically going up and open and to just riff because it
That's
certainly
really
wasn't
cool.
yeah, and he gets up there and he tells a story about one of the matches he did where he was like really bummed out because they basically told him like, yeah, you're going to lose in this one because that's how that we've written the story go this way, so you got to lose this match, and he's all bummed out because he actually, even though it's all scripted, there is joy in winning it anyway,
Well,
and
yeah.
but the main third part about the story was that because he's the heel, he's Roddy Piper, so when he does his march out, everyone's supposed to hate him, and the story had to do with how like he accidentally gets in a fight with an audience member because they go a little too far, and so he almost punches out one of the guys who was basically spitting on him and stuff like they're supposed to, but yeah, like the precursor of that is as he's going out there, he's just kind of sitting there chilling and having a cigarette with the guy he's about to go on match with, and they do a whole just like, all right, well, let's have a good show tonight, and that was the whole thing. So yes, just from that little snippet of me seeing long since retired Roddy Piper tell that story, I'm betting that there was probably a lot of realism in that in this movie.
I could see that. And like I said, like I just that is a really I mean, because you know that they have to communicate. That is a very dangerous profession.
Yeah,
So they definitely do communicate, and we don't always catch up to that. So
yeah.
I just I like that.
Well, that is well exampled in this scene we're about to talk about when
Yeah, they're
the
going back and forth. They're hammering each other. They're
yep.
good one, and they're literally talking underwards while the entire crowd is out on like the audience is screaming all this. These guys are having their one on one, and DDP gets approval from Pants and launches Jimmy from the ring. And uh, watching Arquette scream betrayed, and then like all of the emotions that are going through there, like this isn't even pay-per-view. Like they're
Right,
freaking out. They're like, I wasn't expecting this. This isn't a paid fight. What's going
right.
on? Like there was so much fun in their panic
Yeah.
and just freaking out about like how he jinxed him because of it's like if you do it like because that thing like with the porta
Oh, right.
potty,
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
do it, Jimmy Page is gonna Jimmy
Jimmy
King is
King.
gonna lose tonight.
Right.
And
Yeah.
he's like, you jinxed him. And we get the
You
four post massacre,
see that
which go ahead.
that's the thing. What I'm saying is like that is a remarkable bit of acrobatic bit that they did. I don't know if that's something that's ever been done in an actual like wrestling match
Not a
ring,
clue.
but the fact that all four of these guys were able to coordinate all landing like safely on him in a way that wasn't actually going to kill him and not run into each other while they're doing it. Like, holy cow, man! Like,
These
yeah,
guys are practiced.
yeah.
Like
It's like I
this
guess
is professional performances.
yeah,
I
and
mean,
so it's
they're athletes, but I wouldn't call it a sport. It's all
no, I
like
yeah.
it's performed.
Well, I mean, all in Oliver Platt's own words in this movie, like it's a circus performance with a little bit
Yes.
of
Yes, there
soap
you go.
opera sprinkled in, and yeah, and that is exactly what it is, and
But it is entertaining.
quite yes,
I gotta give them that the show that they give up on that. Pants telling the audience that there's a new king. And I'm done with you. Rest in peace. I mean, seriously, Joe Pantoliano, the man delivers every line that he has ever had to perfectly.
Yes.
Exactly as creepy, as exactly as insidious. He's just, he's got that.
Yeah.
And I swear to God, man, Hollywood really knows how to use him correctly.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And again, like that, like even that is a line from like pro wrestling. Like in the actual pro wrestling show, he would have said "rest in peace" to the mic, not quietly into King's face. You
Oh
know,
yeah, sure.
but
But that's
but
what
that's the
made it.
thing.
Yeah.
That's what made it really good. And Joey Pants delivering it like this
Oh
is the
yes.
drama. You know, like it's yeah. It gave
Oh,
it
I
gave it gave character to the whole thing.
and this a scene that could not I could not stop laughing at this scene when they were on the or like crying in the poop truck on the way home and like
Yep. That
bogus,
was the first time I
stupid,
realized.
angry, allergies.
Yeah,
I was having fun.
and that's the first time I don't know if they showed it beforehand and that's what it was supposed to be a surprise, but they drove the poop truck to the show. Like the,
That's all
the
they
truck
got.
that the truck that they used to empty out the porta potties full of human feces, they drove it to Monday Nitro and parked it in the parking lot there so they could go see the show, and now they're driving it back.
And then angry driving, they crashed the poop truck, which you expect it to go a certain way,
Right.
doesn't go that way right away. But the fact that they gave it that delay is what actually, because I was expecting that to happen, and the
Right.
fact that they made it not happen before making it happen is what got
Yes.
the huge laugh. I'm being stupidly vague on a
Yeah,
show
yeah.
that I'm talking about something. No, the poop truck
It's not a
it
spoiler. You were
crashes.
a minute away from describing it in detail.
I know. It like this poop truck crashes. So what would you expect? You would expect all the poop to go flying all over the place.
Yep.
That doesn't happen. They
Nope.
get there,
It
they,
does fall out. The
services
pop
show
top.
up. Yeah, a
Yeah,
little
the
bit
pop.
falls out,
Yeah.
but then shortly after, a semi truck hauling toilet paper comes by and then crashes into it and splashes everybody. So you get a little delay on the
Everybody but
joke, and
them.
then it gets way
Right.
funnier. I mean,
It,
what
it
the
splashes.
hell?
It splashes everyone but them. They're the only ones who don't get covered in poop in that.
Yeah, and then they get left on the side of the road to walk back
Right.
without so I mean, this movie it's nothing but dumb stupid fun, but it's all done in a very clever way, which is like the fact that they thought that this was going to tank wrestling is kind of stupid considering what happened here.
Yeah, I don't imagine how that could have how anyone could have thought that was going to happen. Yeah.
No, like yeah, we're going to do a tank job. We're kind of done with this. We're like we hate this. We're going to finance this and then uh-oh, they did a really good job and created a cult classic.
Right.
Shit. Then
They got all the people we were trying to make fun of to get involved in this movie and turn it into the biggest party anyone's ever seen.
yeah, it way too much fun and I swear to God, like David Arquette, like him, he was raised a wrestling fan. His dad was a wrestling fan, so this is like there was
Yep.
a lot of love coming off of him directly for this. I don't know as much about Scott Caan. He kind of seemed very similar,
Yeah.
but
He did
I
have kind of
he
the
didn't
straight
speak up
man
as much.
role. Yeah, he had kind of the straight man role in this whole thing. He seemed to be more about the kind of like, you know, he was a little bit motivated by the love of wrestling, but he was kind of seemed to be more motivated of, you know, we just got to drive this story home, you know.
Yeah, really, like it's weird. His only motivation in the movie was yeah, like getting things going, all that. And he was more dedicated to the wrestling than David Arquette's character was because Arquette stayed well, not really, but like Arquette gave up a little bit. So
Right.
it depends on how you want to look at that. But the fact that at the end he becomes a manager and it's all just about pimp daddy and all this stuff, it's like his one character arc in this whole movie is that Jimmy King saw him hook up with a girl. That's it.
Right. Well,
Like
and he got a job. Like there was that.
okay, there's that. There's
Yeah.
that. That is fair.
Although technically the poop truck was his job, but then he lost it because that like that's what we find out is
Yeah,
that
you
he's
kept getting like little exposition. He's like, "Yeah, my dad's dead, and the only thing he
yeah,
left behind was that truck." And not like,
right. So he's
yeah,
an independent contractor to like that's his whole thing. He has a poop truck and he independently contracts cleaning out porta potties, and then his truck crashes as now he's destitute. and that
Yeah.
and
I honestly I could not have like the exposition. I don't. I'm not gonna call it clunky because I don't know. I never had a problem with it. It was
no.
I was having fun with it. Oh, then discussions over destiny and what would King do. They decide they gotta find the king, go hitchhiking, and this is the main reason I wanted to watch this movie. Was
Mm.
the van full of farting nuns?
Oh right, yeah, that was
I
a weird
couldn't remember
inclusion. Yeah,
anything. I couldn't remember anything about this movie except David Arquette getting out of a van and be like, "Be honest with me. Were you farting?" And he's like, "No, man, I thought that was you." And they just kind of look off into the distance. They were the farting nuns. I have no
out of
idea. For
nowhere.
20 years that has stuck in my mind and I have been laughing about it every once in a while when it comes to my mind, just David Arquette staring off in the distance and talking about the farting nuns. Some lines are just so funny that they just stay with you. That was, and as I was watching Scream, I was thinking David Arquette, and I was like, I need to watch that scene again. Wound up watching the whole damn movie.
There you go. Okay, yeah, I see you.
But watching oh my god, no, that one nun honestly crushing Van Halen.
Yeah,
I would like, dude, that is a great scene. How could you think to write that scene though? Could they have come up with that? I swear to God, that was like a Family Guy skit where they just like threw a bunch of things together and went, nuns, Van Halen, farts. All right, what can we write, guys?
yeah. They pulled a bunch of random words out of a hat, and they were like, "Let's make a scene out of this." Like,
So many movies that we have seen, I swear to God, I don't know how they come up with those scenes beyond doing something like that. Like, I'm sorry, but this was just one of those.
yeah,
Uh, then we get to see the Shermanator, and I am sorry for the kid, man. Or the man. He is the Shermanator.
yeah.
He did that, like that role was too iconic now.
No, yeah. Unfortunately, it's who he shall be till the day. It'll be on his tombstone, like in little quotations underneath his real name, whatever it is. I don't know, and I don't care.
But weirdly, he is one of the longest working actors of his age. He has
Hmm.
been going since he was a small child with that kind of
He's got a look. He's got a
he has
look.
that look. He
He's
does. He does.
and he has, lucky for him, he has the talent to back up whatever weird role they decide to cast him in based on his look.
I'll give that to him
Yeah.
100%. Hail to the Shermanator. But then he winds up being a hacker. He's like, "Oh yeah, I can find you anything on the net." And I'm
On
like,
the net.
"Oh, early 2000s. Oh,
Yeah.
the net."
And
Man,
that
when's the last time you heard it referenced as the net?
I think
In
I
real
think
life.
in real life, I cannot remember. I
There you
honestly
go.
do not
Yeah.
remember. I think when the movie The Net came out, me and all my friends agreed never to say that word ever again. So,
The net, man, that is something that is a movie I haven't thought about. Sandy B, right?
Sandy Bullock, yeah, yep.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, I haven't thought about the net in forever. We also haven't done a Sandy B movie yet.
Oh my God, we haven't. Holy shit.
No, all these movies, and no, I really love her, so that is
Oh
kind of
no, yeah, she
surprising.
is fantastic. Yeah.
Mentioned this earlier, Caroline Rhea as the queen, and very, very surprised when she opened the door. I was like, isn't it? And
Mm-hmm.
then I had to check it out.
Yep.
Arquette's jazzed. Oh
And
god.
100. Oh yeah, that was a great exchange. That was.
You ever
Oh
seen
my.
crabs up close?
Yeah, and Arquette's
No.
like, it's like okay. I'm like, I'm like, okay, calm down, David. I get it, but calm down.
But then when you find out exactly how much of a virgin he is later on in the film, you're like, okay, yeah, this guy
Yeah.
really has no idea what's going on.
Right. Yeah.
Uh, then Prince Frankie's horrific braces. Man,
They looked like they were soldered on. Like those were so creepy.
they looked rough. They looked
Yeah.
very rough. And then over to meet King's parents. And I love that scene from Caan. He's like, no, 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 no. That's not what happened. No, he worked 2 jobs to support you after you died in a plane crash. Like looking right at a man and saying that he died. The level of idiocy was
It
just
was
legendary.
that was good quality stuff right there.
So he finds out that King took the motorhome, And then they track down the motorhome and find, and they look through, and he's like, man, it's not the king. It's just some weird old lady. And they're like, no, 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 man. That's her. I mean, that's him. Like, the king's a queen. Like,
Yeah.
funny. And I can see where that joke probably didn't stand the test of time to a lot of people. However, it should.
I mean, well, and I think what's interesting is the fact that they didn't dwell on it. Like he
No,
spends
not
that,
at all.
yeah, like he spends like when they're talking, he spends the whole conversation, still in the dress, but it's never talked about. He doesn't sit there and go like, "All right, guys, sometimes I like to dress in women's clothing to feel like it was
No, not
literally
at all. Not
nothing.
at
He
all.
just
Like,
yeah,
but that's the thing. Like they're still called drag queens. So if
yes,
he is in drag, he's being a queen. So at that moment, I'm like, I can't tell if that's a joke that does or doesn't stand the test of time. I'm not the person who would be able to tell. All I can tell you is I laughed at it, and I
right,
might get
yeah.
canceled.
Nah, I
I
think it's
don't
okay.
think canceled is actually really a thing because everybody who they say gets canceled, they don't go away. They just go do something else.
Right, yeah. So far,
Like,
everyone who I've ever heard of being canceled, they just find another, they're somewhere else. Yeah. You
I'm still kind of wondering about that. Like, yeah,
they
lose
make it they make it
subscribers,
they
everything like
basic
that, lose
yeah.
viewers, sure. But
They they
actually
ba-
getting canceled?
they basically make a career on complaining about being canceled for some reason.
And they become way more successful.
It's
Like,
kind
so
of
how can you
infuriating.
call that being canceled if you actually make an entire career out of bitching about it and get way more money from it?
Yeah.
Moving on. The standard
Maybe
rates
we
is
should get
$30 for
canceled.
5 minutes.
Now that we've said it out loud like that, I'm like, hmm.
Just to test the boundaries.
Right, yeah.
I like that he's like, the king plays the false sympathy cards, like, and my parents dead, and my
Yeah.
mama, and all this, and he's like,
They're like,
dude, I got good news, man. Your parents aren't dead anymore. How
with
unbelievably sweet and naive these guys
such
are.
insincerity too. Yeah, he's like, "Oh no, good news, man. Your parents, like, we just saw your parents. They're not dead anymore." and
I,
and
I'm,
it
yeah,
and it dawning on the king, even where he's sitting here going like, "I can play with that." Like, he like,
like,
what a miracle! Hallelujah!
oh yeah, oh yeah. But I mean, he's looking. He's like, okay, these two are about as dumb as they come. So
Right?
let's
Yeah.
see what I can do here. They say they're gonna go on a beer run, and King tells them that everything is fake. Circus with a little bit of opera, soap
hmm
opera thing. Like you've said that a couple times.
It's
And
a solidly good line. Yeah.
yeah, and the delusional fans get a solid rise out of him. And the King's in, drives first leg, and then they sneak him into the wrestling show in the porta potty.
hmm
I thought like a good setup.
Yeah.
Good setup. A lot of the good jokes that were going in as they're going through. David Arquette's way too excited, and like just you kind of I felt Arquette's excitement the whole movie.
Oh sure. Yeah.
That is something I will definitely give him that. The These fellas don't know what naked means.
Oh, yes. I know this. I was thinking the same thing because they're staring into the Nitro Girls dressing room and
Oh, right,
they're
that's what it
all
was. Yeah, naked,
yes.
naked, naked,
Yeah.
naked.
None
Nobody
of
in
these
this
women are
dressing
naked.
room is naked.
Yep. They're all wearing very modest panties and bras. Like their actual Nitro Girl costumes show more skin than the panties and bras they're wearing in this dressing room.
Yeah,
Like,
okay, so that's what that meant. That note confused
yeah.
the crap out of me for a moment there. And then Rose McGowan doing her thing.
Yep.
And her thing, literally, I mean, she does. She plays that like, I'm gonna be a doll and you're gonna fall in love with me. And
Yes.
yeah, pretty much everybody who shares the screen opposite of her is like, yeah.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
And then
And yeah,
Paige, go ahead.
and Arquette says what we're all thinking. He's like, "Oh, I'm just here to look at your boobs." I mean,
I
and
mean,
Rose McGowan, because I mean, sure, her character is a Nitro Girl. I'm sure that's not the first time anyone said that to her. So
no, God, no. The thing that when I
she
was
rolls
doing the
with it.
photography on the convention circuit, the things that I
hmm
would hear, ooh, no,
Yeah.
that is one of the more modest things she's heard, I'm sure. Uh, but then Paige and Pants rolling up, ragging on King, and then and then King loses it, attacks out of the porta potty, comes in and puts on a good show and kicks DDP's ass.
Mm-hmm.
Which, again, seriously, way to be an awesome sport, Diamond Page.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. Through this whole movie,
Or Dallas Page.
he's yeah, for the whole movie, he's like, I will be the bad guy in this show, and I'm fine with it, even if it
I'm gonna be the
means
bad guy. I'm gonna get beat up by a toilet seat out of a porta
yeah,
potty, like all of the things.
yeah,
And he's just an outstanding sport about it.
100%. Yeah,
I thought
The
that
Rock would never have done that.
dude, this is why it sucks to watch. Like once you know about the Rock's contract, it sucks to watch pretty much any movie that he's in.
Mm-hmm.
He is contractually, he's not allowed to get punched in the face. He's not allowed to lose a fight. A movie with The Rock in it, you know exactly what it's going to be, and it just kind of sucks.
Yeah,
Sometimes they're entertaining, but you know immediately that there are no stakes for him.
right. Yeah,
And I think that's really dumb. I don't really understand the ego behind a decision like that, but hey, whatever.
especially when the number one and what was the one of the number one ways that heroes are revered is when in some point in the movie they are brought down low so that they can rise back up again. If your contract stipulates that I, playing the hero of this movie, will not be brought down low, you are intentionally hamstringing your value as a hero.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
There's no struggle. I mean, the struggle is not a struggle. Like
Yeah,
it is a very weird thing. Loses it and attacks out of the porta potty, and they scream foreign object because he's got the toilet seat, and there's no new champion. It was not a sanctioned fight, so they go
right.
through it. And he brings up a cage match. Survive and win $1 million. And then I like this moment. Tonight we rejoice with the king in his motor castle. Dude, come on with lines like that.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I was having way too much fun on that. Uh McGowan shows up for the party, and like he's like, "Do you have my poster? Is it this pose? Is it this pose?" And then David Arquette like gets up on the car. He's like, "No, it's this one."
Right.
And like looks like Will Ferrell in Starsky and Hutch with the two dragons moment, which Jesus Christ. Like way funny, way funny. And then King runs, he tries to run and falls
No,
into the sewer.
here's what got me. Let's hear.
What you got?
Here's the thing. Got to give credit where credit is due, because once again,
Always.
Mean Gene Oakland, like after that scene, after we see like the flirting between McGowan and Arquette, and they're calling each other sexy, and then cut to the man, Mean Gene Oakland, turn to the king, going, "Do you think people think I'm sexy?" and and Oliver Platt turning to him and sincerely saying, "I think you're sexy," and I'm just like, there we go. Yes. Give the legend his credit.
And well, you're right. That delivery on that too is just, yeah, it was
Yeah.
perfect. That was a fantastic delivery. I got to give you that. Having the our two main characters show up to pick up Jimmy King, and they're like, "Well, how did
Yes.
you know where he's at?" Like, we're in the business. Just, I mean, kind of a brilliant payoff to their job.
Right. Yes.
Like, I thought that was really great. I really enjoyed that one. I like that. I don't need a trainer. I need a safe house, baby. The more
It was
I
weird
try,
how he
oh,
was
go
kind of
ahead.
going back and forth in his Elvis impersonation. It was weird. Sometimes he was more Elvis than others. Like,
I felt that he was impersonating Johnny Bravo the whole time.
ah.
I couldn't get it out of my head because every time I impersonate Jimmy King, I'm doing the exact same impersonation I give for Johnny Bravo.
Right. Yes. Well, I mean, I think they're both Elvis. Let's be honest.
Well, okay, yes, Johnny
Yeah.
Bravo is Elvis. I do have to give you that.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, let's be honest.
Johnny Bravo.
He as a wrestler calls himself, he's the king. Like, how many
Oh
times
yeah.
how many times did they, how many iterations of this did they go through before they went, all right, we're not going to give you the pompadour wig. You're not actually Elvis. Like, it's not working. Let's just put a crown on him and lose the
You
Elvis
know what?
thing.
At some point, I am gonna do a poll, and it's gonna be who is the better knockoff, like fantasy Elvis, and it's gonna be Ash from Evil Dead. It's gonna be Jimmy King. It's
Right.
gonna go quite a while because your like pseudo Elvis personality types are kind of wildly awesome in film.
No, that's true. That is very true. They do
Like
pay off.
the more I think about that, that personality really awesomely works. And they they have that song for the king that they start singing it, and it's just like you got to imagine like these big celebrities, they have all experienced things like that, and their mega fans have wrote a song for them, but it's like I didn't think I was gonna meet you today. I was working on it, and then like,
Right.
can I sing what I have for you already? And it's exactly what that felt like, and too damn funny.
Yeah.
But then we get to meet Martin Landau as Sal Bandini, the trainer. Oh
Holy
my god, what
shit.
a role. What a
Yeah.
role.
Academy Award winner Martin Landau coming in as, well, as the kung fu master. Basically, that's who he
Pretty
is.
much.
He's
Yeah.
the master up on the mountain. They've gone to go learn how to do the 1 inch death punch to. He's that guy. And holy crap, like the whole introduction, his whole first scene, you're just constantly sitting there going like, oh shit, oh shit.
Because it's Martin Landau.
Exactly, yes.
Like, what an actor, what a choice. And then to have this old man beat the crap out of Jimmy King and everybody else, and then Jimmy King kicks him to the face and they think he's dead, and then they get a possum kick to the nuts. Fantastic.
Which, by the way, let's say a little prayer for Oliver Platt's nuts. He took so many cock punches in this movie. There had to be a whole separate insurance policy just for his nuts. Because,
You know that he was wearing a cup, but
well, sure,
still,
but
but
it couldn't have,
still.
yeah, like
I've
even
done
those.
stunts. Even when you're wearing stuff, you still feel it. Like just
Exactly, yes.
yes,
And I'm sure
that is a bit of a rough one.
they probably went through a couple of them. That's what I'm
I could
thinking.
believe that. I could believe that. I love that moment where McGowan, like Arquette, shows up for a date at McGowan's place, and
Mhm.
she is like, what is it? It comes up, I think Spanish or French. He says something,
Yeah.
and she's like, "Oh, are you fluent?" Like, nah, I feel
Another
fine.
fantastic. This and the funny thing is that like I don't know why it wasn't until this point. Like I mean, obviously she's a turncoat because
Obviously,
we see her hanging on Joey pants when at the beginning of the interaction, and then immediately after the fight's declared, she shows up at the party and starts hitting on Arquette. Duh, of course she's a plant, a mole, whatever it is, like it's obvious. But it wasn't until we get to her apartment and I see that her through line decorating motif are pictures of herself. That for me was, oh, red flag. She's a
oh,
bad
huge
guy.
red flag. Oh yeah, oh
Like
yeah.
don't
Uh, where she's like flirting with him and like trying to seduce him. She's like, "Show me your awesome moves," and he's like, "Okay." And then he's like, "Pile driver." Like,
and
dude, I like this scene was
body
too much
flips her.
fun. Yes,
Which the two grand moments for Rose McGowan is both of those. There are two moments where she's basically been completely nailed and is laying on the ground with the wind knocked out of her, and the look on her face in both of those moments are absolute gold.
that is
Like
true. She
that's
really did deliver
yeah.
the
Like when
comedy in
he
those
does
moments.
when he does that and does the whole pile driver and slams her on the floor. That wide-eyed what the fuck just happened to me look on her face right there, that's an Oscar winning moment all on its own for her. That I think
It was
was
a good one.
I think I laughed hardest in the whole movie at that moment when he did that to her, and her reaction to it I think is
Immediately after, I got way bigger of a laugh when she like climbs up on top of him after that,
oh right,
takes
yeah.
her shirt off, and then he sees her boobs and screams, "Foreign objects!" like they're weapons, and then just whacks her. I
Right,
mean,
yeah.
come on. This, I mean, that was. I was falling off the couch laughing at that one, man. That was killing me.
Yeah.
You
And I
can't. I mean,
remember thinking to myself too, after that, I'm like, after everything he's just put her through and she's still having sex with him, either she's a turncoat or he better fucking marry her, because you
oh,
don't get better than that.
no, you don't. No, no, no. But interesting enough, this next scene. Well, I mean, okay, so you know, the dad gets the postcard, puts it on the fridge, and then shoots the fridge.
Yes.
Maybe a bit of an overreaction,
A little
maybe.
bit.
But this scene here is John Cena's film debut. When
Mm,
they were talking to Goldberg, and he's working out, and he talks about getting puked on by Jimmy King.
yeah.
John Cena's in the background working out in that scene.
Nice. All
Ready
right.
to Rumble is John Cena's Hollywood debut, which is kind of weird because I'm looking
Was it
back on like,
was
yeah,
it
John Damn Cena.
before he started wrestling and he
No,
or
no,
was it just
he was one of the minor wrestlers at that point.
okay, so yeah, they just basically said, let's get the entire WCW in here. Like,
Pretty much. Yeah,
okay,
I mean, I
cool.
mean, at that time, Goldberg was one of the biggest ones. So if he was doing something, I'm guessing the guys that would work out with him they probably just went to the gym that they worked out at, and those were the guys who were there. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
being
that's
real.
probably true. Yeah, you're probably not too far off there.
But then the Saboteurs, Sid Udy and Perry Saturn against Martin Landau. Dude, the fact that they got, like, yes, these were not the biggest wrestlers of the time, but these were named wrestlers that showed up
Yes.
in this movie to get their asses kicked by Martin Landau. Now, I know you think that's like kind of a cool, like, you know, like, yeah, good sports. I'm sorry, man. The age that those guys were, they probably, when they were like, I get to get my ass kicked by Martin Landau, bring it on.
That's probably
Like, that
true.
was
That
probably
is
way
true.
more of an honor for them than what we're kind of throwing out there.
No, you have a good point there. You have a good point. I probably would have quickly signed up to get my ass kicked by Landau as well. That's for sure. Yeah.
I mean, realistic. I mean, yeah. That's like, I mean,
Yeah.
just yes. Uh, so Landau gets his ass kicked, kind of, eventually. And then McGowan wants out, and Arquette catches her.
Yeah.
And the thing, like, Landau sitting on the bed is like, oh, I got my ass kicked. I feel sore. I'm peeing blood.
Yeah.
Feels great to be young again.
Right. Yes.
I couldn't get
And
enough
the
of
thing,
Landau's character in this.
well, and the thing is, you can't get out because I mean, like, it's one of those you got to see to believe because it's not just like Landau's face, the way he does, like, you talk about full body acting. Martin Landau does full body acting with just his face. It's
I see
amazing
what
to
you
watch.
mean.
Yeah.
I do know what you mean, and that is a great description of what that man brings to the table.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So McGowan wants to come. She's like, "Can I come with?" He's like, "No, we're going back to basic where there's heart. You can't come because you don't have a heart." Dude, David Arquette is a third grader in this whole movie, and it is, and he
I
delivers it perfectly.
deeply appreciated how they didn't draw that out. That the discovery that she's a turncoat and him breaking up with her over it was not a drawn out dramatic conflict. That
I
was
don't feel like
just
this
a
movie had
boom boom
time
boom.
for that.
No, and that you're probably
Everything
right.
had
Yeah.
to be like bam, 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 bam in this movie because like there were no long establishing shots. There were no look
Hmm.
at this scenery. None of that. This shit was we're gonna put as much shit into this 90-minute movie as we possibly can, and they did.
Yeah. No, that's true.
It was a good time. Uh, when King goes home and he like sees his family and he sees his boy, he's like, oh god damn that boy. Look at that mouth. He's like, I'm gonna do right by you. I'm gonna do right by this family. And by God, I'm gonna get that boy a damn good dentist. Oliver Platt, I mean, oh my God, dude.
Yeah.
I love him so much. But then back home and dad shows up. And the interesting line, no more touching other men from Sergeant Gropey, whose intro to this film is grabbing Caan's junk. Like, and I like that. Oh
Oh,
God.
I
Oh my
could.
God. No, as he's driving away, he's like, and you know who else followed their dreams? Charles Manson, Joe Stalin, Michael Bolton.
Right. Yeah. I was like, damn. Damn.
Which I mean, what are they talking about there? Like, is it the fact that they all sold out and then went different places or something like that? Or is it
Or is
literally
this guy
just like the joke?
I think it was just straight
Because
up Bolton hate from an uber masculine
well,
asshole. Like,
because most people younger than me aren't gonna know this. Michael Bolton started off as a hard rocker.
mm,
He was not
no,
like
that
this
is a good
like
point. I had
this
forgotten about
sitting in
that.
a
Yeah,
bathtub. Yeah, he was not the sitting in a bathtub singing by candlelight guy. He was a hard rocker, and then he sold out to go into the
his solo
yeah.
career, he became a crooner. Yeah,
Yeah. So that's where I was kind of thinking like maybe the cop was like really mad that he's not a hard rocker anymore. But like
that
that,
had not occurred to
that
me,
might
but he
be a
might be.
way deeper cut than the movie ever
Yeah,
went to go for.
no, you're probably right. Yeah.
Because
But
yeah,
even
like I
even
mean,
not
like
thinking
yeah,
about that, even not thinking about it,
no, the
not
joke
having that,
landed.
the joke landed. Like, yeah, he just equate, like, a lot of, anybody who doesn't like Michael Bolton's music will equate him to Stalin and Manson. I mean, it's just I mean, come on.
No, okay, so no, it was a good joke, even though it didn't really matter how many layers it had. Every layer
Right.
of it actually did work. Uh, the king and Caan show up to the rescue, and Dad's watch. Oh. Let's see. The king and Caan show up to the rescue. Oh, damn it. Okay, yeah, man, I got to be more elaborate on my notes. So David Arquette is taken back, and he's like a grown ass man who's grounded at home, and the king and Caan show up to like rescue him from
Doing
his
his homework.
bedroom. Yeah. And he's like, I can't, man. I just can't. I'm grounded and like all this. I'm like, dude, this is so pathetic and it's half ass adorable, way pathetic and a lot of
Right.
fun. And
And weirdly enough, because I was a little disappointed because when they showed Arquette in his bedroom and they start with like a pan across his room and we see his Rose McGowan poster up on the wall and it is not the pose that he described.
oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
Ah, damn it. That would have been better if they would have had that, but this wasn't that kind of movie.
Right.
But what got a big laugh out of me was the sheriff dad watching Cops and treating it like a comedy show.
Right. Yeah.
That
Yeah. No, they
again,
were, yeah.
but then Arquette gives up and they do the posse tryouts and King just keeps whooping everybody's ass and then meets Kitty, which if you don't know Kitty, she was like the movie that I know her from is Tomcats. Did you ever see Tomcats?
No, I don't think I did.
It is a super bro movie, but in a very, very funny way.
Okay.
It's like, you take a look at that cast at some point. We'll talk about that another time, but you'd be kind of surprised. She is the girlfriend in the opening sequence with Jerry O'Connell, and yes, if you are familiar with what I'm talking about, that is her. And but her audition to be part of the posse, and then King's response, well, what's she gonna do? Boo him to death?
Boo him to death. Yeah, that was a
Like,
good line. Yeah. But they're arguing, like, she's basically like, I'm Kitty, and she's sitting there all demure in her little milkmaid dress, and they're like, you're in the wrong place, miss. Please, go do something safer. And that's when she does a quick tear off of the dress to have her, you know, tasseled bikini underneath. And
which
that's when Arquette is like, oh no, let's get her. Let's have her in the team. And Platt's just like, what is she gonna do? Like, guys, no, come on.
no, great lines, stupid but great. And then now that he's on TV, Brittany wants him, but he's like, nope,
Yep.
on
Turns
to
and goes
Wendy.
on to Wendy, who,
And
yes, I mean, objectively superior. Like,
I would say so,
she's just as attractive,
and not a
but
bitch.
and not a bitch, yeah, and actually likes him and likes wrestling too, or at least likes it enough to talk to him
So
about it. Yeah,
more compatible at the very
right.
least, more compatible. And then Arquette shows up and gives them a hug goodbye, and I can't tell, like, that's like an angry cop, but very, very clearly that cop was a repressed gay man.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
I mean,
I'm pretty sure that the movie was explicitly saying that, right?
probably yes.
Yeah,
Or
I mean,
something to that degree.
at least very close. Um,
Well, I mean, the homophobic father was actually a pretty running theme, because even Shermanator's dad was constantly like, he like
Oh
Sherman,
yeah,
like
yeah, that's right.
like he
If
like my
people who have
he's
friends are fags, like
right, exactly,
everything that
yeah,
he did made him a fag. Yeah, no, that was
right,
the
yeah.
Shermanator's dad. That's right. That's a good point.
So there was a running theme. Everybody's dad is weirdly aggressively homophobic in this movie.
Fair enough. But that is a thing. Like when I remember being younger and there were the dads who weren't into wrestling and stuff like that that would see the wrestlers in their leopard print bikinis and all this
Oh
stuff.
yeah,
And they
yeah,
would have those jokes. So that was actually that does connect to the real world pretty well. I gotta give it that.
yeah.
Um see. Okay, yes. A hell of a goodbye from Wendy, and then you get Scotty Caan. He's coming out of there and then running back towards it and just them bright ass cheeks.
Right, yeah.
Never fails to get a laugh. A naked butt just always gets a laugh. It's, butts are funny.
Sure, yeah.
I may be immature. I don't really care. Butts are funny.
And it was good. I think they were like, okay, everybody in this movie is going to get laid. We're not going to make too big of a deal about it. We're just going to make sure, I mean, that's the thing. It's like with Arquette and McGowan, it was basically like, it was a 2-minute setup as to their dynamic, and then with these two, it's like, here, I got you a gift, and he got her, Hard Rock from New York T-shirt, and it's like, yeah, that's pretty.
And
I
she
was in
loved
New,
it.
and she loved it. Yeah, I was in New York, and I got you this T-shirt. Like, especially when you're like 13, 14 years old, that's a big deal. Granted,
That
he's in
can
his
be. You
20s,
got your collections.
but
Oh, no, no,
yeah,
no, no, no. These were all adult representations of teenagers. Like, these were, nobody in this movie was an adult.
right, that's very good. That's true. But yeah, and then her response is, "I got a gift for you too," and takes him in there, and then comes out. She doesn't even bother bringing her clothes out with her. She leaves in the wrapped in the blanket, letting everybody know. Yeah, no,
No,
I
no,
just
no.
yeah,
I got him. He's
yep,
with me now.
you're
Yep,
right, exactly,
100%.
yeah.
Uh, so they make it to Vegas and the Nitro Girls and a meeting with Sting and Pants. The Nitro Girls given their dance, which it took a long time for this movie to actually do a featured dance from the Nitro Girls, which was kind of
Mm,
surprising
sure,
considering what this movie was, but it did show up.
yeah.
Uh, Sting. I guess I never really watched wrestling when Sting was the like a heavy hitter in there and all that. But even though I didn't watch wrestling, I was still rooting for the guy because the guy looked terrifying. So I'm like, I like that. Like I like that. If
That's
if I was
yeah.
into it, that would be my guy.
Okay,
So
sure. I could
that
see
was
that
always
because
kind of a thing.
for me, I think his equivalent in my time would have been the Ultimate Warrior, and kind of for the same reason. So,
Well, I'm trying to think. Who was Actually, I gotta say, my early favorite is a little
mhm.
bit too obvious. It's Jim Duggan, man.
Oh well, sure, yeah. I mean, Jim Duggan was your fucking uncle. Are you kidding me? Of course,
No, like that was the hacksaw.
yeah.
I love that, man. Like that
I
was
dug
dope.
him too. He was all right. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, and that was the thing too. He was also a
mhm.
cool guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Like yeah. Um Joey Pants does an awesome job in this role and displaying like the rules of the cage match, doing his Ed McMahon performance. Like we sang the praise of Oliver Platt earlier, talking
Right.
about how he does like
The
the
wrestler talk.
ramping up and the vamping for wrestling.
Yep.
Joey Pants crushes this though.
No, that's true. Yeah.
Like I definitely
Which
give him all
again,
of
just like
that.
goes to show, like clearly everybody that was what foiled the plan. This plan to take down wrestling was destroyed by everyone involved being massive fans of wrestling.
That did make a bit of a change. And I like that where Scott can't like Oliver Platt tells Scott Can like, hey, you got to watch out for the pyro. And he's like, wait, what was that last thing you said? And then walks
Right.
right into the pyro. Very Looney Tunes. But you know
Yes.
what? Looney Tunes is a classic for a reason. The jokes
Yes.
are funny.
Yep.
Like they're just objectively funny.
And it
And
was
go
not
ahead.
out of place in this movie at
No.
all, for sure. Like every one of
No,
those,
this was a
like,
movie like
I mean,
dumb humor worked in this movie because it never tried to rise above it.
right, and we already passed over the fact that earlier in the movie, Oliver Platt literally falls down a manhole. This is tame in comparison to that.
That is true. That is very oh, man, that is too true. All right. Now we get the match begins and the rules of the cage. You got one cage, another cage, and then the final cage on top, and you got all these fights. And Not a great start for the King, but it comes around with what was I think it was Scotty Caan that actually handcuffs DDP to the side of it.
Oh yeah, well because they're trying to handcuff him, and
Hmm.
Khan comes in, blows some chalk in his face, and as the guy's going like that doesn't work in real life, dude, and then all of a sudden he's the one handcuffed by Khan. Yes, that was
Yeah, and it
clever,
was great.
clever little bit. Mm.
I thought that was clever too. I really did enjoy that one. And then the son comes in and surprises King, and then everything starts just really tanking because he sees his
Right.
boys like, I can't beat up my kid.
Yeah, well, and I'll tell you that was great too because like the whole like the unknown masked wrestler comes in and the mask comes off and he stops because it's his son and the announcers are going like, this is amazing, what he's getting a beat down by his own son. I'm like, this is peak WCW and WWE drama right here.
Oh,
Like
so that's
I
that is the kind
that
of stuff they would
that
do.
is the kind of stuff that would happen. And like I'm sitting here
Okay.
going like, this is the wrestling match these guys wish they could put on if the show wasn't live. That's what
This
we're watching.
movie made me regret not being into wrestling when I was a kid. I feel like I
Yeah,
would
I
have
could
had
see
a
that.
ton of fun. I really feel like I would have had a ton of fun if I would have gotten into this as a kid. I don't
Probably,
know
yeah.
why. I missed it.
We all did. I mean, I don't know how much of a thing it was. I know it was one of those like I was into it as a kid, and everybody, all the kids I went to school with, were all into it. We'd go home like we didn't have Monday Nitro. We had Friday nights. I think was when it was on when I was a kid, and so we'd all be talking about it Monday morning, And so
Oh, I could see that. Yeah. Um, I'll tell you why. Moving on. But then we get the intro of some of our heroes: Goldberg, Booker T, the
mhm.
Disco Inferno, and Kidman.
The
And
Disco
then,
Inferno. I wish I had been watching wrestling during his time from just knowing
well,
there
no,
was a wrestler out there called the
oh
Disco
yeah,
Inferno. I'm like, man, I got out too soon, clearly.
like as I was researching this, I was like, man, this seems like, God, why wasn't I into this when I was a kid? This seems like it would have been so much fun because I was having fun just researching this. And when Arquette comes in on that motorcycle,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, that
No,
I feel like I would have loved to have seen some things like that happen.
see, that's the thing. Like, and that, like I said, something like that never really happened, But that's what I say. Like, this was the match these guys wish they could put on if it wasn't the live show. Like, I
Okay,
wonder
there you go.
how many times these wrestling producer guys were like, God damn, wouldn't it be great if he could just ride a motorcycle right onto the ring? God, why can't we do that? Well, it would kill people, obviously, but I wish we could.
Now
And
you
so
got
they
me
basic.
wondering if that's ever actually happened.
It's a good
I'm gonna have to
question.
look that
I
up.
mean, there's 50 years worth of stuff happening, so I mean, maybe something close to it happened.
Oh, easy. Uh, the cops are watching, and then all of a sudden, Sheriff Dad becomes a proud daddy.
Hmm.
Yeah, just because all your buddies are rooting for him, now you're a proud dad. And yeah,
Oh,
you
sure,
shut
of course.
up.
That's always how it works.
Yeah,
That's
that's
how it
always how
works.
that goes. Then, oh yeah, McGowan gets got.
Again,
Fantastic fashion.
almost as good as the body flip earlier, but still pretty darn good. Where like, yeah, they're trying to warn her. Like you can see the ladder spinning around in the background behind her, and they're like, "Hey, hey," and she's like, "Shut up, I'm talking," and then boom, right in the face. And they're like,
Don't
"We were trying
stand
to
too
warn
close
you
to the
about it."
ring during a ladder match. Like it's just
Right, yeah. And then
you
again,
would like not
one
quite
last shot.
common sense,
Right,
but at the same time, common sense.
right, yeah. And then one last final shot of her on the floor with that dazed look on her face that is pure gold. That's the poster I would have on my wall.
That would be I actually oh, that would be a good series of posters, honestly. Just the one shots and the after effects that make everybody laugh. It's like
Right, yes.
a hallway of those one shots. That would be just
That
like
would
that would
be
be a
a hell of a
hilarious.
collection. Yeah,
That
that would
would
be.
be a good collection. I never thought of anybody ever doing something. I probably would never do that, but that is honestly kind of interesting. I'd never come across that before.
Yeah.
The intense weapons on level 2, and man, I like Sting comes in and he winds
Oh,
up being
the
the
freak.
hero.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm just like, yeah, like the weapons they had in the second cage. I'm sitting here going, what, a noose? What the fuck is going on here? I've
Oh
never
yeah,
seen
things
this
got
kind of match before.
yeah, things were getting pretty rough up there. And
Like I
then
said, this was their dream match. They were like, let's bring in a noose. And he
fair,
starts
okay,
stroking him out.
okay, all right, yeah, fair. And then where are we at? Arquette and Caan toss pants into the crowd.
Mm,
Um, oh, sorry, no. There's the punches of love, which I couldn't stop laughing about that for a bit. And the final bout between DDP and King.
right.
DDP is definitely dead at the end of that fall.
Oh, yeah.
100%. Like that was, yeah, yes.
It was pretty.
And
It was a
King
pretty
wins.
epic display. Yep. And yeah,
Yeah, and then he just saunters off at the end of it. It's like, yeah, okay. And then Arquette and Caan toss pants to the crowd. Arquette is the law, and
right.
Kane is sugar daddy.
Yeah. Yep. Of course.
I mean, with the outfit that he was wearing, I mean, yes,
What else are you gonna
that
call him?
is,
Yeah.
you gotta. Back with the kids, and like the closing narration is the same as the opening narration of this film about how
Yep.
dreams really do come true, and
And the kids are like, but you're still here in this shit town. Like your dream didn't come true. You're back here at the fucking mini mart telling us assholes your story. Like what dream came true?
but then you find out
Right.
like
Then the
King
asshole of
is
the mini mart.
inside, like throws the clerk out of the store and be nice to
Yep.
kids. And then Goldberg is out there walking around in his little bikini, which apparently he just wears all the time. You got Sal Bandini in
If
the
I
back of
looked
this
like
Hummer
him,
and
I probably would too.
nope, nope, not even if I look like him. But I can kind of see a little bit of a point there. And I mean, guys, that is Ready to Rumble.
Yeah.
Doc, what's your final thoughts on this one, man?
My final thoughts, that was a fun ass movie. It took me back to a place I did not know that I missed, like I said. And yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say as I usually do, like, is it a necessary? I'm not gonna say it's a must see, but man, it really was super fun. Like
But
if
I think
like
it's a must see for wrestling fans.
okay, you know what? You're right. If you are a wrestling fan, especially if you're a younger wrestling fan of today, getting a glimpse at the wrestling fans of yesteryear, definitely, yeah, for sure, it would. Okay, then yeah, if you're a fan of wrestling, then it is definitely a must see. But beyond that, I
On the
mean, it's
technical
not a
aspect,
it's not a
no,
waste of time.
it's not a must see, and I don't think it's a waste of time to your average audience goer. There are going to be people who would absolutely hate it. There's no way around that.
Probably,
But
yeah.
I, I'll recommend it to pretty much anybody. I had a great time with it. I had my wife, not a wrestling fan, when they were doing the cage match at the end, she was screaming at the TV like she was a wrestling fan. Like the movie's effective.
That is beautiful. That's the power of art, people, right there.
It was a lot of fun.
This is a foreign film. I'm sorry I did that to you.
Oh yes, I didn't really mind that, but yeah, a lot of people aren't really into the subtitle thing, so this is probably not gonna be one see very much.
I don't think this will be a wide appealing movie. No.
Where I agree with you, it won't be. It is a highly rated film by the ones who have seen it.
Okay.
So
I
if
certainly
you,
like.
I liked it. I enjoyed it. I was bored for a great portion of it because, but
Mm,
that is independent film a lot. I mean, if you can't afford good shots, then yeah. And I mean, when you have a certain time, you have certain allotment, you have things like planes that you
mm.
are trying to, is like, oh, we have a plane and a shot, so we're going to use this shot for 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Go.
Secret Ballot, directed by Babak Payami, written by Babak Payami and Mohsen Makmalbaf, starring Nassim Abdi and Cyrus Abidi, with Youssef Habashi, Farrokh Shoja, and Gholbahar Jangali. I am more than positive that I butchered every single one of those names, but
Certainly sounded better than I would have done it.
I don't know how to do it right, so I gave it my
Yeah.
best. That's what I'm gonna go with. All right.
So we have an Iranian film. I think, and I'm trying to remember, is this the first foreign film, like actually genuinely foreign film that we've done?
I believe
Like
so.
I think we may have done like some others that are like a combination America and some other country in conjunction. But yeah, I think this is our first truly foreign film made by and for Iranians. Um, but yeah, and this one, and it is a low budget, technically a comedy, but it is a very slow indie, uh, probably very specific audience intended kind of comedy. I think.
I'm gonna agree with that because a lot of the comedy in there, I don't like. I got it, but I really don't think the average, unless you have put yourself in a situation where you have to interact with people through a language barrier like that, and it's not
Mm,
just, oh, I saw somebody who speaks a different language and stuff like. No, like if it's literally part of your job that you have to navigate, and it doesn't matter you don't speak the same language, you still got to
right,
get the job done.
right,
No, like there is a lot of comedy in those situations that they're just funny because they exist.
right. Yeah. And so what we have here is that it is election day in Iran, and this movie takes place not in mainland Iran, but an island off the coast, very isolated, very rural. In fact, they do not have actual polling places. Instead, the setup of this movie is that a ballot box has been airdropped onto the beach of this island next to a military guard post, and sometime later, maybe a few hours later, an election agent from the city it then comes in by motorboat, whose job it is to carry this ballot box around the island to all the different settlements to collect everyone's votes. And that is the premise of this movie. So it's the election agent, it's her, the election agent. And I don't think anyone's given any names in this. I think she's just referred to as the election agent the entire
No, even
time.
in the IMDb, like her, like the title is Girl and Soldier.
Right. So that, yeah, and then also the soldier who's supposed to guard her. One of the there's this it's dropped off at a guard post where there's two soldiers who apparently just take turns guarding and sleeping, and that appears to be all they do ever.
Hmm.
Because there's one bed there that's just laying out in the open in the beach, and one of them standing guard and brings in the box and then goes over to the one bed, wakes the guy up and says it's your shift. And so that guy gets out of bed and the other guy gets into bed. It's time for him to sleep. Oh, and they also have a single watch between them. That's the other thing. He takes the watch off and hands it to him so that the other guard will know what time it is right now. Like that is how isolated and rural this place is that they have two guards, one bed. It's out in the
And their
open.
their whole mission is just to look for smugglers.
Look for smugglers. Yes.
That was it. So yeah, the Dropbox carries a mission to protect an agent and collect ballots.
Yeah.
And his whole question is, well, what about the smugglers? And the other guard's like, whoever sent the orders knows what's best. Like,
Yeah.
easy to say when you're not the one doing the mission.
Right. Yes. And
No,
this
I got a
guard
good
is
kick out of
great
that.
too, because this guy, you could tell this guy is serious about his job. Like like through the whole movie, he has that kind of like he's out in the middle of nowhere guard, but he's not what you usually see in movies where he's kind of the lazy, like I'm out in the middle of nowhere. My being here is a formality. I don't really care about my job. Not this guy. This guy is truly like
He
he's
believes
on
in the
even
mission.
yeah, even while they're wandering around the island collecting votes, he's on the lookout for smugglers the whole fucking time. Like he's serious about his job.
Yeah. And then the boat drops off that agent and they
Hmm.
and demands that they be or that she be back exactly at 5. And the soldier the whole time, like the whole beginning, is just being awkward as he's being told what to do by a female agent. And
Hmm.
he's like, and she's everyone must vote and I'm in charge.
Yeah,
And the soldier's like, well, the order is no good because it doesn't say a woman is the agent.
right. It just says protect the agent. It doesn't say anything about a woman, and she's like, "I'm the agent. You need to do what I say."
Which, yeah, like it started off pretty funny. I'll give you that.
Yep.
The discussions of duty and no, I don't have an ID. It's under my buddy.
Right. Yeah. She's like, we'll start with you. You can place your vote. I just need your ID. And he's like, no, my ID's under the mattress of the one bed we share. Like, It's
No, like it was, yeah, I was getting some good laughs out of that.
well, and what struck me too, the interesting thing, and this was like maybe one of those like I don't know how much of this was intentional or just a happy accident, or maybe this is just me layering more interpretation off of a movie that admittedly moves so slowly that I'm looking for reasons that are happening the way they are.
I can see
So
that.
the whole setup of this movie, it is deadly quiet. Like they're on the beach of this island. You can kind of hear the waves crashing. There's no other sounds. The guys are walking quietly from one place to another. Their lines are very short and specific. Um, and then even after like the other guard tells him like we got the orders, we got the box. There's an agent coming, and they're like, well, what time is the agent coming? Supposed to be here at 8. It's already 8:15. Where's this agent? Nothing ever happens on time. Just relax. And so the guy goes and makes coffee. Mind you, he makes coffee he has to build a fire. Like there's no gas, no electricity, not even firewood. He has a collection of twigs that he makes a fire with so he can boil water to make tea. That is how out in the middle of nowhere these guys are. And he's just sitting there drinking his tea, watching the waves, and it's just absolute serenity quiet. Like for a guard ship, you cannot
And I
ask for
want
more.
to really bring up this. The music that is playing in the background is the sound of a tar, and the sounds that come off of that particular instrument, like the resonance on that is unbelievably beautiful.
Right.
So to
So we
that
are
scene that you're describing, that serenity, that music playing over there is not something you hear in American films.
no, that's true, yeah. And that's what we get. And then that serenity is viciously broken by the arrival of the agent. Because when they show up in a loud ass motorboat. There's not just her on the boat, there's like her and 6 other people, and they're all chattering away loudly. Like, this is an absolute, like, this isn't just like, oh, the weird city girl is showing up. No, this is an actual invasion of his peace that is taking place. And they even added to it by as they're showing up, as she's arriving, they turned up the volume on the waves. Like we've been hearing the waves crashing on the ocean this whole time, but they've been a very quiet, calm, just nice rolling waves coming through. But when this motorboat shows up, they become deafeningly loud.
Yeah, but
And
you do realize why though, right?
hmm,
Because they shot it with lav mics, and when they were coming in, it was her audio that was making that so fiercely loud.
yeah, that's pretty funny. So okay, so there you go. I'm sitting here going like, did they symbolically display her completely destroying his peace, or was it an accident? Probably a little bit of both.
I could see it as being a little bit of both, but they were very hindered by the fact that there was no boom in this. It was all done over lav mics, and it's funny because there was one time like there was a fly that buzzed right in front of her lav mic, and she like you could hear her hand like swiping right in front of it.
I missed that. Wow. Okay, that's crazy. I didn't notice that.
Oh, that is kind of crazy. That is the detail.
That's usually
When she's talking to that little girl and she thinks that her mom had just died, and
oh
she gives
right,
her that
yeah.
doll, and she's like, "No, my mom's not dead. She's over at the tomb with the others." Like, you idiot. No, it's
That
that
was a
moment.
great big.
A fly came by, and she's like, and you just hear it like right by it.
I might have been laughing at that moment, and that's why I didn't notice.
I could see that, and I got to give you that. And then so they set off on their journey in the 2000 version of the Cybertruck, because that was a Cybertruck convertible.
It was a standard Iraqi military jeep, is what it was.
It was, and it looks exactly like a Cybertruck with the top cut off.
which, which is funny because the jeep gets a tent, the guards don't.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah,
no, no. One thing is valuable. The other, super easy to replace. So they're off and they're talking about how no one is being forced to vote, but it's better for them. And the soldiers all, well,
yeah.
even the
She
smugglers can vote?
right. Yeah, this is great because she's trying to sell. Like that's what's interesting about this movie is that this is like a time when democracy as a concept is very, very new in Iran, and she is really trying to sell it. She is super proud of this brave new world that she's bringing to the islands, and this Gar is just not having it. And yeah, he's where she's like, yeah, everyone can vote. and everyone gets a say in the government. And this guard's like, even the smugglers, these asshole smugglers that are the bane of my life, they get to
Like,
vote too.
well, I mean, it's not just the bane of his life. It's like he's like, wait a minute, even we're even letting criminals vote, like,
Yeah,
but then they're gonna vote for crime to be okay. Like, it's like it's like a lower grade argument, like or not lower grade, but a less sophisticated argument over what we have going on with American politics all the time.
exactly. Yeah, like
It's
with
just a
the
very raw form of it.
whether or not people who are felons should have their voting rights be restored has been an ongoing argument for like the last 10, 15 years. It's stupidly boiled down in this one scene of this one guard going, well, if the smugglers can vote, they'll make crime legal. Like,
Yeah, and like it's kind of funny how simplistic the argument is.
mhm.
And then we get our first voter, and how do we get him to vote?
Oh God, I loved
Chasing
this bit.
him down in the Jeep, and the guy is running away from the soldier in the Jeep that's chasing him down, and the woman's like, hey, calm down, it's okay.
Right.
It's like, I don't think he knows that.
Well, and it's great too because she's so excited. She goes, "Look, there's a guy walking there in the desert. He's a
Chase
voter.
him
Let's go
down, go
get him.
faster, go
Like, go get
faster,
it.
go
Yeah,
faster. Yeah.
run him down." And he sees this military jeep coming at him, and he starts running. And she's like, "Why is he running? Quick, go faster. He needs to vote."
But see, here's the thing that kind of gets lost a little bit in the translation. If this was in English, you would be able to tell, like, the scene's coming up where she's like, go faster, chase him down, go get him. And then once they
Right.
get there, he's like, he's so overzealous. And all that. She's like, yeah, I don't know why he's overzealous. Like, that is honestly hilarious, but it gets a little bit lost in the translation because you're focusing on the translation.
Right.
But
Yeah.
no, that scene is fucking, that is honestly a hilarious situation. Go get him, go faster, chase him down. And then you get there. Why were you driving like that?
Well, and the guard's just like, "Why are we?" And it even starts with like when they do finally chase him down. The guard's like, "What are you? Why are you running?" Like the guard jumps out of the car and grabs him, like, "Why are you running?" And the guy's like, "Why are you chasing me?" And she's all like, "We just wanted your vote."
No, it like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, this, I can see how this is a very good Iranian comedy.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
the moments in there are very, very funny. But like I said, even that I'm laughing about it now, it was hard to find the comedy in the scene because I was really trying to pay attention.
okay,
Um, and then I like the guy, like the voter that they find is like, I want to vote, but not at gunpoint.
right,
And like the soldier keeps interfering, the agent is reassuring, and
right.
then she just jumps down the throat of
What?
the soldier's throat about how he operates.
Yeah,
And like him in response is like, with these votes, the crooks are having a party. Like,
right, yeah,
again, like it's just the core uh theoretical, well, sometimes theoretical issues over like democracy.
yeah.
Like, you can't argue. Democracy does not win every time.
No, I mean it's a messy process, but as I've said on many, many, many occasions, humans are a messy species, and even in our setbacks, I remain faithful that it will work out in the end because it has for 2,000 years so far ish.
And that is promising optimism.
Yes.
I'll talk to you at the apocalypse. Like, I like that, like the moment where the soldier's like, he's had enough. Like, she's just going off on him. She's doing all this stuff,
Mhm.
and this is not her world. And he just stops the car. He's like, can you drive? And then she kind of smarts back. She's like, I didn't think it was legal for women to drive, or I didn't think women were allowed to drive here.
Right, yeah.
And he just gets out of the car and walks away. And I'm like, that's the right move.
Mhm.
That's like, yep, go take yourself some time, go do your thing. But then a dump truck full of voters shows up, and like out of
This
nowhere,
was amazing. This was an amazing scene.
that was a hell of a scene. Like, that was dark as hell, a little bit funny, and
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the authenticity of that scene is about as far as it's going to go. It was authentic.
Right. Yeah.
But one thing that they never do in like when American films represent this part of the country or the world,
Right.
nobody is ever wearing a hard mask. They only ever have them in cloth masks, and a lot of them are even see-through. No.
Yeah.
They are protecting themselves from the desert.
Yeah.
That is one of the reasons. That is one of the lighter reasons that they wear those masks. Makloths don't work, so they wear like physically hard material, plastic, metal, whatever. They're walking through the desert in iron masks. That is a
Yeah.
real thing. And I loved seeing it in this because outside of the real world, I have never seen that.
And I think that might be a little bit of the Tiffany problem.
Huh?
The Tiffany problem? Have you not heard about
Oh,
that?
I not by that name.
The Tiffany problem is the issue when it comes to filmmaking is that even though the name Tiffany goes back like 400 years, if you had a character named Tiffany in a period piece, no one would believe it because it seems too modern. And it's the same reason why they had to cut parts out of
Huh.
Gladiator. Like there were scenes in Gladiator where they talk about where the Russell Crowe's character gets actual like endorsement deals and has murals of him endorsing products up on the buildings because that was a thing that Roman gladiators actually did, but they had to cut it out because American audiences would have thought that that was ridiculous. They would have thought it was satire or parody or something like that. And
That is
so
and that is
and so that
sad.
so that whole thing where they basically have to purposely do inaccurate things because they don't think audiences will accept the authenticity, it's referred to as the Tiffany problem.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
And I think that that is when it comes when I because that was the thing I was thinking when I saw those characters, those voters with those masks on. Um, the first thing I thought of was those look like the masks from the original '70s Dune that they were wearing. So I think that's the Tiffany problem is because back when they were making Dune, they saw those masks and they were like, "Oh, that shit looks alien. Let's put it in there. Let's put it in there." And so now to an American audience, that's not Middle Eastern shit. That's alien shit, and no one's going to accept it.
That is interesting. Like I did not think about that, but yeah, that does make a lot of sense. Um, yeah, but like I said, like when I was in Kuwait and we came across some nomadic tribe, some of them were wearing stuff like that.
Oh,
Like that,
weird.
and that is the only time I've ever seen that. Not when I was
Hmm.
in the city, not when I was in Baghdad, none of that. It was only when I was out in the desert and we came across like in Kuwait and it was just a nomadic tribe. Like we had to shut down the range because we saw camels and stuff like that walking by and we were like, are they with people? And they were. So
Hmm.
we had to shut everything down and make sure that the nomadic tribe was protected as they went through. Like
Okay.
that's the thing. I like having my history of being in the army and stuff like that because I talk to a lot of people who just think that everything that we do around the world is just horrible and brutal and stuff like that. But no,
Hmm.
we literally shut down a training exercise just so we could protect people that were walking by.
Yeah.
Like we are like I'm sorry, like I know like yes, sometimes America, yeah, we are the baddies. Sometimes. A lot of the time we are the difference between really horrific stuff happening in other parts of the world and it not. Like it just is what it is. Not everything is perfect, not everything is all terrible. There's
Right.
like almost everything in the world is just mixtures of gray.
Because that's people. Like
And that
there
and that
there
is
there
exactly it.
there is definitely objective evil in the world for sure, but you'd be surprised how much of it, like to like it, well, it's like I say all the time about the internet. The internet is not good or evil. It is a tool. It is a completely
Yeah, you decide how
non-moral
you use
tool.
it. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And so yes, you can trace a lot of bad developments because of the internet. You can trace a lot of good developments because of the internet.
But
The
weirdly,
internet is not responsible for either of these things.
exactly what we're talking about right now is kind of summed up in this conversation that they're having as he's trying to leave her and let her drive. He's
Right.
saying she can. Like, I'll do my mission. You go do what you have to do. You can find it, all that. And then he says, you're hiding behind my gun. And she is going off on him. She is lighting him up. She is saying all this stuff.
Right.
But the reality is, she is literally sitting there hiding behind his gun, benefiting from his protection and
Yeah.
abusing, like, nah, not really abusing
Because
him, just being kind of a shit the whole time
right.
while, like, taking advantage of what he's offering.
Because he's
It was,
right. She
like, it was a good
wouldn't she
scene.
wouldn't she wouldn't last 10 minutes out there. She is a lone woman in a very, very rural, very, very let's call it what it is, conservative part of
Hmm.
Iran, And so, yeah, it would be extremely dangerous for her to be walking around out there alone or driving around out there alone. And so, yeah, having him there with his gun is the only thing that makes this relationship work, you know?
And that's kind of thing that we've talked a bit about on this channel in the past, where I do understand the world that the hardcore peace-loving liberals, they really want that world. That world happens behind a wall of soldiers. Like that is, and like, the reality is because humans are humans.
Mhm.
Like that is, but that's the thing. Like you can complain about it, you can whine about it, you can hate it, but that's kind of the point. You have the freedom in this country to hate those things and still benefit from their protection. Like that's why this scene in particular really shone for me,
Yeah. Okay.
because it was a solid example of that. It's yeah, like you don't like the world that you live in, but there are still people that are making sure that the world you live in is a world that you are free to hate, which is
Mhm.
kind of fucking weird. But that is, everybody
Well, I mean,
has their
if I
chosen
were,
roles in
yeah,
life.
not to go off on too far of a tangent on this subject, but I think you know, there are, and I think part of the frustration comes from, and not to fully disagree, just kind of more of like, as someone who's been in that mindset, just sort of, saying, for some folks it feels like when you say like, yes, protected by a wall of soldiers for sure, but also when we think about the things preventing us from getting to that world of peace, to expanding that peace, to getting, granted it's a pipe dream, but let's get one step closer to hopefully not needing that wall of soldiers anymore. Sometimes we feel like the wall of soldiers itself is what is preventing us from getting to a world with no wall of soldiers. Like, just like we like, does that make sense?
It does. And I see where that is, like, and and I see that because I've had this argument since like the day I joined the military.
Mhm.
I've like, because when I joined the army, I just went one weekend and did it. I came home, my mom asked me what I did for the weekend. I was like, "Oh, I joined the army." Like
Oh wow, okay.
there was no like huge family discussion or anything like that. No, I made my decision. I was an adult. I did my thing. I was about to start my life on my own. I made my decision. And but after I made that decision and nobody really saw it coming, I started getting all of these conversations from all of these people, and I'm like, yeah, I'm really glad that I just went ahead and did it before talking to you guys, because I don't like all this confusion. I made a decision. I'm going to do my thing. And since then, I have heard all of this. But the one thing that, if there were nothing else happening outside of this country, I would agree.
Mhm.
That's not what's happening.
No, and that's fair.
The world is a dangerous place. As soon as the world is no longer a dangerous place and the soldiers stay,
Right.
then I will agree with you.
Right.
But
Okay.
until the world
Well, and
stops being a dangerous place,
right.
I
Well, and
can't agree. But I do
I
see
guess
where you're coming from.
yeah, and I think probably, it was a better way to say it is like, look, I would really really like to yell at the Exxon CEO that is causing these conflicts, but I can't. You're here. So it's not fair. It's not your fault. It's not fair for me to take it out on you, but you're here, and
That is, yeah.
that's basically how it ends up. And
And
sorry
that
that
just is how
that's
that no,
yeah.
that is how it goes. Like that's the thing. Like a lot of people out there, they talk about the white people, the white men that like
Mhm.
amass and collect all this power. And yes, people like you, people like me, we hear the frustrations. We are not the ones benefiting from that type of stuff. Yes, white privilege exists, and I have benefited from that. I still stand by the fact that pretty privilege is more powerful than white privilege.
No, I feel you there. Yeah, for sure. Mm.
All right, back into it. All right. So the dump truck with a baby shows up carrying all the female voters who can't talk to the soldier as he's a man and their husbands will raise hell.
Right, yeah. The guy
That
who
is real
driving the
world.
truck,
Yeah.
yeah, that is the guy driving the truck is the one male in the group, and he has permission from their husbands to take care of them. Beyond that, no one else can talk to them.
Yeah. And he goes through and he's like, and the driver says that he will choose for them, But the
Hmm.
agent stands up, and she's like, "No, no, no, they have to
No,
choose for themselves." And he gives up. I was surprised by the fact that the men gave up in this film as often as they did.
yeah, no, it's true.
Like
And nothing
I wasn't
ever,
expecting that.
nothing ever really got heated. To like things got well, okay,
Mhm.
things got heated, but nothing. Like at no point did it feel threatening. It just seemed more like
Agreed.
this. At best they were annoying, but she stood her ground, and they eventually went, "Fine, do whatever, you fucking weirdo," and then they gave up.
Well,
No,
the other thing is she was an agent from the government, so
mm,
if something happened to her, yeah, you'd imagine maybe something would happen. But also, I don't know how much because she was a woman, so I didn't know if they put her out there because of you know, if we're gonna lose somebody. Like I didn't know how that go. Like if they were
that's
viewing
the
her
thing
as
is
like the private, you know?
right. Yeah, I mean that's the thing is like we hear
We
the
never really
stories
got an
about
explanation on that. Like for me, it felt like the real story between like was between the agent and the soldier. And
right.
everything that was happening with the ballot was or the election was all in the background. But the background story was a very intensely tragic story, such as a girl can marry at 12 but cannot vote. And the
Yeah.
look on the agent's face 100% crossed the language barrier.
Yeah, and it was kind of amazing because yeah, this girl steps forward to vote, and she's like, "I'm sorry, you can't vote. You're too young." And they're like, and that's where they say like she can get married at 12. Why can't she vote? And this agent does not have an answer. She doesn't have an answer for her. She's just like, "It's the law,
Dude,
and I have no
how could you
explanation as to." Yeah,
what answer would you could you come up with for something like that? Are you kidding
yeah.
me? Like no, that absolutely broke me. But that little boy spiking the camera during that scene was the fourth wall levity that kind of that took me out of that. Because you could 100% tell. He's looking at the camera and you could tell there were people off on the side going, "No, no, no. Look over
Right.
here. Look over here." Because he's like I'm sorry, like I like just the filmmaker in me was having a great time. I was laughing at that pretty hard.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um, and then they come across fishermen, and when the soldier goes to retrieve them, he finds out that they're not there. She wants to take their boat so more can vote,
Yeah,
and it
because there's
works.
there's all these fishing boats out there, and she's like, "Go get those guys' votes." And he goes, walks over to them, comes back, and he's like, "They're not actually from here. They're not Iranians. They can't vote." And she goes, "Well, then get us a boat, and we can go out and collect all their votes." And he's just like, "Ah, this guy here's that this guy has resting I cannot with this bitch face like that." The whole movie, he's just
I completely, I no, I agree. That I agree. That was like yes, the whole time he's like, no, no, I completely, I'm with you there. But it
but then
works, and then they go off on the boat on these very still waters, which honestly just creeps me out.
now
Like,
I still don't know what happened because it was very like it was all very distant and quiet. Like you see them go up to this boat and they get on the boat and there's things happening and then another boat comes along and there's a thing happening and the other boat drives away and then now we're cut back to her and the soldier are back in their boat and they've got some other girl with her that wasn't
oh
there
no, so
before.
yeah, a smuggler is like on their way, like cruising to him, and the soldier shoots a shot in the air to scare him off.
Right.
And the agent's like, "Why'd you do that?" He's like, "Because he was a smuggler." She's like, "Well, how did you know?" Because he drove away when he saw my gun. She's like,
Right.
"It's a gun."
Yeah. But then now, yeah, but that was another like laugh out loud. They're coming back. They've done whatever with this boat, whatever. We don't know exactly what's happened. We just sort of see the boats come together, people come together, and then the boats all go off in different directions. And now we're back to our soldier and the agent in the boat with some strange girl who we've never seen before riding along. And the agent's just sitting there going like, "Well, they arrested him and we lost a vote." Yeah, she's just mad that they arrested him before she could get the vote.
Yeah, and there's that. But then what the soldier says to that girl that they brought back with
Hmm.
is like, uh, why would you try to leave and marry a foreigner? Like,
Right. Yeah.
what's wrong with the men at home? And I'm like, dude, she was trying to escape your culture, dog, not your men.
Yeah.
Like, there's a little bit of like, yeah. Um, but that like, okay, again, yes. So the vote on a boat scene, that whole scene could have very easily put me to sleep if I did not watch that in the morning. If I was
It
watching
was
that in the afternoon or late at night or something like that, like I usually do this,
there
that
was
scene would have put me to sleep.
there
The
was a lot of
sound,
long
yes,
drawn out
but the
moments. Yes.
sound of that, the instrument is called a ney, Ney.
Hmm.
My God, that was just a lullaby for me. Iranian instruments, my God, they just put me right to sleep, man. I don't get what it is about it, but I love it. Um, and then back to the fisherman, and like they want, like she wants him to vote, and he just says voting doesn't catch fish. And
Yeah.
then like
Voting doesn't catch fish. Like, oh my God. Like, what a,
this is not their
yeah.
world. They don't care.
Yeah. Like that. Like, I mean, like, it was, like, I think it was at that moment, like watching this movie, like, I suddenly started asking myself, like, holy shit, what was it like here, like 250 years ago? Like, the Continental Congress just got the fuck together and they're trying to get this new idea of democracy going in America. Who's the poor bastard who had to go around to all the trapping stations and be like, hey, you want to vote? Like, and try
It
to
probably
explain
went
to
just
the,
like this.
probably, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
voting doesn't catch furs. What are you talking about? Get the fuck
But
out of
then
here.
set aside from that, like what else also probably went just like this? They wanted to vote, but none of the people like they're like, we don't know any of these people.
Yeah,
Like, what about
that's,
the
yeah,
people
and
we
that,
want to vote for? So like these people wanted to vote for like their own villagers and stuff like that.
yeah.
Like, or at least that's how it kind of
Yeah,
sounded.
and that's what follows up. Like, someone actually like shows up to the agent and be like, "Hey, yeah, you're voting," and they even say like, "We came all this way because we got missed last time, and so we came here in order to make sure we cast our vote." And she's like, "Oh, great, great, fantastic. Here's the list of candidates. Write down two names." And they look at the list and they're like, "Who the fuck are these people? Like, we have no like."
Yep. And then I like that they say like voting is by secret ballot, so we'll vote for who we want.
Yeah.
And there you go. Let's see. Then the girl that was kidnapped or tried to escape Iran,
Yep.
they find out that she's 16 and she can vote. And the agent is like, she doesn't need to vote.
Oh,
And the soldier's like, I thought, but all day, everything that you were about, all this stuff was all about it. And it's important to vote and the importance of it, and it
hmm.
can change everything. Now you don't think it can change things? Like
Yeah.
she's really starting to like like I'm seeing the journey that she's going through as she's realizing that in the countryside, like in the rural areas of these places,
Right.
there's not that kind of hope that they offer in the city if something can change. Like if a program is instilled or something like that, yeah, sure. The city, something great can happen. These guys, they don't care because there's not much that they don't have much hope
No,
for
yeah, they don't. They don't.
change.
These probably these people don't see government hardly ever. How would they even know what government even is? You know?
Well, yeah,
Um,
and and like they just like, but her response to that is her family wouldn't vote, so she's not allowed to vote either.
yeah.
And like, I mean, there's just a lot of really heartbreaking stuff on this. And then because I'm a plant guy and everything like that. When we got to those Persian ironwoods, I wanted to live there.
That was a
Are,
pretty sweet little setup they had there,
are
wasn't it?
you kidding
Yeah.
me? That oh wow. Talk about wanting to live in a forest. Go for our viewers, go check out what Persian ironwoods look like. My God, that's a tree.
Hmm.
That is
Yeah.
one of the coolest looking things just ever. But when they wind up in this little Persian ironwoods forest, a child was just born and there is no interest in voting.
Yeah.
And like they're like, we don't know who these people are. She's like, I have photos. But at that point, we find out none of these women are even allowed to look at a photo of another man. So they
Right.
can't vote. They can't find out how to vote. They can't learn about the candidates because they're not even allowed to see what they look like.
Yeah.
Pretty intense stuff. I mean, that like, and the thing is, that's not the story here. That's just the backdrop to the story,
No,
but
that
the
like I
backdrop
said,
is very intense.
that's the thing is like I said, this is a movie that was made by and for Iranians. Like
Hmm.
this was, and to kind of see it from that lens where you see all of these different cultural things that maybe are to a mainland city-bound Iranian audience, probably a lot of like, oh man, these kooky outbacks, like it would be like us watching a movie about folks from the Appalachian Mountains or something like that, a bunch of hillbillies and stuff like that, and that's the kind of comedy. For us, it's almost an anthropological study from our viewpoint to just kind of look at like what culture is this? What is even going on? How like
Yeah. So we cruise over to the small village owned by Granny Bagoo, if I'm saying that correct, and I'm pretty sure I'm
Right,
not.
yeah.
And I love how
I did
easily
appreciate
that
how
soldier
often
gets
they
shooed
said her
away.
name.
I gotta give that too.
Yeah.
The soldier gets shoot away, and that language barrier holds just extremely firm. She's continuously trying to talk, and she's explaining everything in this language this man does not speak, and she just does not relent. And I'm
Right,
like,
yeah.
you know what? Thank you for having that not just be the American thing that happens.
It's
Because
clear.
all
It's
I've
a
ever seen is them is the world make fun of us for doing that.
Yep.
But I love the fact that you
Here
literally
we
have,
yeah.
yeah.
Here we got some Iranian on Iranian bigotry going on here. Thank you very much.
And it played so well. And because she's like, and finally, like after like 3 minutes of talking to this guy and he's speaking a different language, she just goes, "Do you understand?" And the only thing he says back that she can understand is, "No, I don't speak Farsi."
Right. The
I was laughing pretty damn hard at that
that
one.
that it reminds me one of my favorite lines from a movie years ago. It was a Michael Keaton movie, and the name of it I can't remember right now. But there's a scene in it where they've got to stop. They stop at a gas station to use the bathroom, and the guy goes like, "Hey, can I use your bathroom?" And the guy looks at me and goes like, "Oh no, hablo inglés." And the guy goes, "Oh right, el baño," and the guy goes, "Dude, I don't speak Spanish either."
Oh, wow. I must have missed that one. That seems like something that would stand out.
Yeah, I will have to look up what movie I'm talking about. I remember it stars Michael Keaton. That's the only part I can remember.
I mean, like honestly, every time I hear Michael Keaton, I just want to say Multiplicity because I want to go watch it again.
It's before that. I know that.
Okay, then low chances I've seen it.
Yeah.
So no one votes in this village, but Granny sent food, and the way that she says this, like I thought this was kind of weird. She's like, "We don't need their votes here. They're fine here. Granny Bagu is in charge." And I'm like, "Wait a minute.
Yeah.
So you're just so as long as a woman's in charge, you're cool. They don't need to vote because of like
It's
I
weird
don't
how quickly
fully
she turns
understand
on
her
that.
character
Yeah.
on that one."
I thought that was an odd one too, because I know
Okay,
I
I'm
know
not
that's
alone
the
on that. Okay.
yeah, because I mean we do kind of like that seems to be the sort of like the journey that our two main characters are going on is that she's die hard democracy is here, let's do this, and he's very much like you're a crazy lady, and then by the end of the movie they kind of meet in the middle sort of.
Yeah, pretty
But
much.
yeah, her turn from like it's important that everyone votes to we don't need her vote, we don't need their vote. Like it goes pretty quick. She kind of turns on a dime, and yeah, it is a little bit
Well,
confusing.
the movie
But
takes place over like a course of 9 hours.
yeah, yeah,
So everything that happens, like, yeah. And it's funny that the voters were sent away while they were gone because the kid didn't think that the voting agent was going to be a woman, which that
right.
played a theme the whole movie.
Oh my god, that was that scene and that
And
scene.
they
Oh
like
my
so
god,
they go to find the votes under a rock. I kept thinking something really bad was about to happen.
yeah, because it is very much like, oh, you're looking for votes. Yeah, there's some votes over here. Follow me into the desert around these bushes and trees, and it's like
Yeah, the
how
votes you want, they're under that rock. It's like we're about to die.
right, exactly. Didn't think you
But
could get mugged out in the middle of nowhere, but apparently that's about what's to happen.
and that's the thing. Like talk about expectation subversion.
Yeah,
Nothing bad happens in this movie.
nothing bad happens at all. Yeah, and that was yeah. They find that like he says like, yeah, they said that they were looking for the agent and they left their votes behind. I'll show you where they're at.
I
They
still don't know if that was if they were stolen or if that was a prank.
That's what I was wondering too. If it was a
Okay, so that
prank,
wasn't clear. Okay.
yeah. But that was kind of part of the joke is that they like, you know, it's like, oh, they carved into the side of the rock, dear election agent, our votes are under this rock, and today's date on it. You know, like she even says, like they even put today's date here. They carved today's date into the rock with this,
And they did the
and
same thing 4 years ago to the
that's
last
the
agent.
that's the thing. Yeah, so it's like it kind of feels like it's a prank.
It does, but like maybe I mean, but again, language barrier. Maybe
Yeah,
that would be hilarious in Iranian,
maybe.
or
Yeah,
to an
maybe.
Iranian, like somebody like I don't know, but maybe
Or,
like I don't know.
or some sort of cultural reference of like, you know, another story that we didn't know or something like that. Like, yeah,
Maybe I like yeah, it was just kind of one of those. But like when they're like, you have to turn the rock over, and the soldiers like basically like pushing the kid, like no, you stay here while we push that rock over. Like I was like, okay, the veteran in me completely agrees with him doing that. Is like, no. If you're too scared to stay here, I'm not staying here. Which is literally what we talked about last week. When the locals stop walking, you stop walking. If
right.
somebody guides you somewhere and they bolt, you bolt. Like that
Yep.
is no, like that is a solid rule. But no, this movie absolutely breaks that. And they talk, and then talking about abandoned project from past hopes on the way to the solar energy site. And I
Mm.
really loved this character because
Oh yeah.
trying to convince a genuine man of God to vote for a man, to put his faith in a man and vote.
Yeah.
That was a wonderful scene.
It was,
Like
yeah, he
all
like
the like the past like 12 years of the hardcore Christianity that we have been like talking about with elections and all this stuff.
mhm.
That is a man of God. That is what that looks
If I'm
like.
gonna cast my vote, I'm gonna vote for God. You can't
That is
vote for
what that
God.
looks like.
Then
That
why
is
am I
not
voting?
like you that is that. That
Yeah.
is like there that is the most honest like representation of a genuine man of God out there harvesting solar energy, like a gift from God to the desert,
Right.
utilizing it, saying that he's just not going to play part in politics because like none of them are God.
Yeah.
Like that was after all these years of hearing this pseudo Christianity, like all of it being used as a political tool, that
Yeah.
was so refreshing for me to see.
Yep.
Like
I thought it was
that
pretty cool.
was really
Yeah.
cool. Um,
Then we come to my favorite scene in the movie. The
Mocking the
stoplight.
laws she doesn't care about while spending all day trying to change the laws.
Yes. How she they're driving away.
Yeah,
She is mad now. Like we can see the anger in her face because she's been trying to get the God guy to vote for someone and he refuses to vote for anyone but God. We don't know how long that fight went on because they ended it very quickly. And but she's just sitting there in the Jeep just fuming that she couldn't get the guy to vote for a person. And
that was fun, man.
as they're driving away, the Jeep stops. He stops the Jeep. And she's like, "What are you doing? Why are you stopping?" And he goes, "The light's red." And that's where we have an intersection in the middle of fucking nowhere. You can see for miles in every direction that there are no cars coming and there is a single stoplight. This is the first thing on this whole island we have seen that runs on electricity.
We just came from a solar site. Come
Okay, well,
on.
that's probably they're probably,
The
but it
whole
is a
solar site is just to run that one stoplight.
exactly, yes. And so they and she's like, "There's no one here. Just go." And he goes, "The light is red." And she gets out of the car, waltzes to the middle of the intersection, and goes, "The law does not matter here."
Which is just completely against her character the entire
Yes,
movie. But that is her, like that is her growth. Like she's out there, like her
it's
journey is like we have to like the law. It matters even out in the rural. We have to bring it
yeah.
here. All this stuff matters until we come up against something that she doesn't care about or agree with, and then it doesn't matter. Which
Well, and see,
so she
that's
like
where
it's like it's our only view of her in their shoes.
I think that I would have to disagree. It's not that it's coming against that she disagrees with the law when it's inconvenient for her. I think it is literally her frustration that she is trying so hard to get these people to respect this new sense of government and they just don't care, that she is questioning, that she's starting to question whether or not law and government actually matters in every place, and she's not taking it well at all. Like, that's the thing, is that she's coming to terms with the fact that there are places in her own country where her sense of
Hmm.
government actually does not matter, and it's a complete anathema to her sense of thinking up to this point, and so she's not coping well with it, and so it comes out in these bursts of, you know, fuck it, we don't need their votes. Like that's really what, so it's not just that it's inconvenient to her, it's that she really is having a hard time reconciling what she believes against what she is witnessing and experiencing.
I can see that. I
And
can.
and then the kicker to that then is that when he just sits there watching her have this meltdown, she finally stops, gets back in the car, and then he goes ahead and goes. He blows through the red light, and she looks at him and he goes, "I thought they fixed it." Like, this is a broke he knew that this is a broken red light that doesn't work, but he had heard that someone had fixed it, so that's why he was treating it right, a real red
Oh,
light.
I disagree. See, like I think like at that point he was starting to like,
Oh, you think he did it on purpose to needle her?
yes.
Ah, okay.
I think like after the solar
I could
energy
see that.
side, he saw her about ready to snap, and then he saw an opportunity, and he's like, I wonder what would happen.
You might be right on that as well, yes.
Because
But still,
like there was a point where he did start enjoying it.
yes, that
But
is
then we
true,
get to
yeah.
that
But
we get
that
to that
but that
village. Oh, go ahead.
that scene, I just wanted to kind of put a pin on that. That scene is the what of this movie. Like, why I never, after seeing this movie, I never forgot it, because
Oh,
the multiple layers of symbolism in the entire concept of laws, governments in any country you live in, whether it is in uh, population centers or rural areas, every every thinking of the point of government represented in the metaphor of that moment, of the stoplight that doesn't work in the middle of nowhere and the woman screaming, "Laws don't matter here." That, I have literally laid awake at night thinking about that for years after I watched that movie.
fair
And
enough. Some
so
scenes
that,
just stay with you.
yeah.
Like I'll definitely do that. Off to our next or I think our final village,
Mm.
and the soldier is showing the kids the gun and all, and they're like trying it on and all this, which I will admit somewhat relatable. Like because we went to like the mountains out in Kosovo and stuff like that. We took like soccer balls, some food, everything like that.
Sure.
And yeah, I was hanging out with people, talking to some kids, and I had people like next to me like, dude, and I'd like turn around and look, and I had like all these little kids behind me, just like, like, and they just wanted to like touch my rifle, and I was like, oh yeah,
Uh,
that's a problem.
yeah.
No, so that is a very real world thing. But I was shocked because I thought they would be like afraid of it, so then like we gotta stay away from it. No, they were
Right.
like, dude, it's cool, and I'm like, wasn't expecting this. But like, I mean, realistically, a lot of guns, like a lot of people have rifles and stuff like that out there as well.
Sure.
They don't look that nice.
Okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Took care of my stuff.
Mm.
Uh oh yeah. And she has to buy a vote from a guy, and like he totally cons her into
Oh my
buying a
god, yeah.
doll.
She's like, "Do vote? I just got to show me your ID." He's all like, if you buy something, I'll show you my ID." And then she's like, "Okay, fine." Buys a doll, and he gives her ID, and she's like, "You're a foreigner. You can't vote." And he's like, "You didn't ask me that. You wanted to see
Hey,
my ID." That's
you just said you wanted my ID. You didn't ask anything else. And like she continued, like she doesn't try to give the doll back or anything like that. She's just defeated.
You're right.
Like
Yeah.
at the end of this day, she has had it. But then she takes that doll, but that elections will do us no good attitude is wildly rampant.
Yes.
And the woman kind of goes off on her like, you guys care more about ballots than you do people. And
Yeah.
this is that mother that was off hiding at the tomb, which we kind of talked about the little
Right, yeah, the
girl
little kid,
earlier.
yeah. She sees the little girl by herself, and so she goes, "Oh, well, I've got this doll. I'll go give her a doll." And she's like, "Well, where's your mom?" And she's like, "My mom's in the cemetery." And she's like, "Oh, yeah, I don't have a mom either. How long has your mom been dead?" She's she's visiting the tomb with my father. Like
I know, like again, if we spoke the language, I bet that would have been just diabolically hilarious.
it was already pretty funny, but yeah, I bet if in the if we were fluent in Farsi, it probably would have been a lot funnier for
I'm
sure.
guessing the delivery on that really is what took that home. But yeah, it
Yeah.
was that was really funny to me. But when they're over there and like, yeah, the mother was not allowed at the tomb. Only men are allowed at the tomb, so they can't grieve. And she even says, "We must hide our feelings here." So
Mm,
she's not even allowed to grieve this person who just died.
yeah.
Like that is ouch, man. That is a lot of ouch. And they head over to the mining site or gravel pit, and
Yeah.
they walk behind a big mound. So I think she collected a bunch of votes there, but I couldn't
Yeah, we're not
really
really
tell.
sure. That was another one
Yeah,
of those weird art house moments where like we kind of have to guess what happened because it's all done in a very slow, far away shot. The only sound we hear is the sound of the gravel machine. We see
which, oh my
her.
God, wrong movie to watch with headphones on. I'm just putting that out there. If any of our viewers are going to go check this one out, embrace the fact that it has subtitles because, oh my God, like 3 scenes in this movie absolutely decimated me.
Yeah.
My eardrums have not recovered yet.
Yeah.
Especially from that freaking plane, man. Come
Oh
on.
yeah. Oh yeah. The plane was worse than the gravel machine for sure. Yeah.
Oh, why? It was even way further away. Whatever.
Right.
But yeah, no, this scene, a little bit unclear, but this was our final location.
Yeah.
And then back to the beginning, and she missed the boat. And the way we open the movie and close the movie is nothing ever happens on time.
Right.
I thought that was a nice bookend.
Well, and I thought it was interesting because like her the reason why she thinks that she missed the boat isn't because they arrived late. They arrived on time, but it's 5 o'clock now when the boat's supposed to arrive and it hasn't arrived, and so she's thinking they must have come early and missed me. And he's
Which
like,
they
and
may
he
have,
yeah,
because the
but
boat doesn't show up. A plane shows up to pick her up, which
right,
didn't even know they
why?
were next to a landing strip. That was never established.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I
I,
mean, we don't know
I
that they were. We didn't see what that. I mean, the plane was on over on the other side of a hill. We don't know it was actually on a landing strip.
oh, you, I'm sure it was, but uh, in a surprising twist that we kind of realize this is a little bit of a potential love story, the agent or the soldier gets his ballot and he votes for the agent, and we have like
Yeah, a little bit of a moment where
a
she's like,
little bit
yeah,
of a moment.
it was all okay. She can't do this because she's wearing the head covering, but if it was an American movie, she would have tossed her hair a bit and be like, "You can't vote for me." But that was basically how the scene went, where she was
Yeah.
just kind of like, can't you can't vote for me." And he says, like, it's a secret ballot. I vote for whoever I want, and I'm voting for you. He's like, you're the only person. He says that you're the
I
only.
started kind of keying in on
Yeah.
it when he asked, he's like, how come there's only elections every 4 years? Why aren't there 3 or 4 elections per year?
Right.
And
And
they'll
she
send
doesn't
a
have an answer.
yeah, and he's like, and they'll send another agent, a different agent,
Right,
and she
yeah.
doesn't have an answer for that either. So, and then the movie ends, and she's running off to a plane, which she like drops her ballot box on the way climbing the stairs and has to go down and pick them up again. I'm guessing unintentional, but unbelievably hilarious.
Yeah.
And the soldier goes off to pick up another shift because he can't sleep to just go look off at the sea and think
It-
about agent.
right,
Because we don't know her name.
right,
He
exactly.
doesn't know her name. And that is the secret, or that is Secret Ballot.
Yes.
Final thoughts.
Final thoughts? I mean, it's a very specialized audience that would be interested in this movie
True.
because you got to be kind of an art film geek. This is a very slow art filmy movie. You got to be very patient because yeah, it's kind of weird reading the subtitles on this one, and I mean, I watch a lot of movies and TV shows with subtitles. I'm used to it, and even I had a difficult time keeping up with things and reading the subtitles at the same time. Um, but yeah,
Hmm.
it is a very Iranian movie, not intended for international audiences, um, let
No,
alone
but it is a
Americans.
winner at the Venice Film Festival, or
That's
winner of
true.
best selection. Is that right? No, best director at the Venice Film Festival. So it is an award-winning international
Yeah.
film.
So I mean,
Um,
I guess if you're a bit of a film nerd, you know, it probably wouldn't hurt to take a look at this. And like I said, it's also kind of it's an interesting kind of cultural window. It's something that gives us a look at Middle Eastern culture without holding our hand on it, and you know,
yeah,
Americanizing it a bit to kind of keep it easy for us to digest. So it's definitely at least the start of an education somewhere in that regards. I don't think I mean, maybe right now, while we're all thinking about the concept of democracy, maybe this can give you some perspective. Beyond that, though, just as a movie, I don't know if I'd call it a must see, but I have a
I
hard time saying that because
it's
I
very
really
similar
like
to
it.
Ready to Rumble. It's a must see for the right audience. If I meet the right
Yeah,
person, I have a movie that I absolutely will recommend to the right person. But it's going to be kind of sparing. Like it's going to be kind of spare that I meet those people.
yeah, you're
I think
probably right for sure. Yeah, but
not just our not just Iranian, but Iranian film buffs, like
yeah,
things like that. People who aren't from that area of the world who carry those kinds of interests. That's pretty niche.
yeah, no, it's true. I mean, I remember
But I will
the only
give it.
reason
Go ahead.
I heard of this movie in the first place was literally I was on my way to Hollywood Video to rent movies for the weekend, and I happened to hear a review of this movie on NPR on the drive over, and that's the only reason I picked it up and watched it was because
Oh,
it was just a well timed put in my mind while I was on my way to getting picking up movies.
so
And
just
if not,
accidentally.
yeah, so and if not for
Huh,
that, I probably never would have heard of it if not for that.
fair enough. I am gonna say that it definitely everything that it set out to do, it did accomplish.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
for things like those three scenes that we were talking about with those that obscene
Mm.
audio.
And not even just the audio, even a lot of these unnecessarily slow panning shots. This was a movie that was technically even from a low budget standpoint, it was technically amateurish in a lot of ways.
Yeah, like
It
I
worked with it okay, but
yes, like
yeah.
the setting it had, everything like it definitely the camera work told the story in the same way that the story was being told.
Mm,
However, not my favorite.
no, yeah,
Just not my
I have
favorite
to agree.
style. Must see. We've kind of already discussed that,
Yeah.
but putting this one against.
I mean, we've talked about how it's unfair to compare movies before.
It's very unfair to
I
compare
mean,
movies like this.
these are again, once again, we have two movies from two completely different worlds here. So, and in this case, it may be even more literal than we meant it last time.
No, that is very true. However, I still want to dwindle down those preliminaries.
Fair, fair,
Uh
fair.
so the one that we cared more about the characters.
I mean,
I
that's a
cared
tough
more
one.
about the world of of Secret Ballot, but I actually cared more about the fact of how much these people cared about characters in their own world.
Yeah,
But I did care. Like, I see, I was thinking, you don't know what they were voting for. You don't know what was potentially in their future. You didn't know anything about any of these characters. You
yeah.
were just kind of commiserating with their existence.
They were kind of archetypal in a way.
Hmm.
They kind of each represented different cultural aspects, with the agent being the very modern woman in the new democracy, and the soldier being the very, you know, the remnant of the old world to a certain degree, you know, while not being dehumanized. at all. Either one of them. You know, even though they were archetypal characters, neither one of them I think were too
One-dimensional.
one-dimensional. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Um, comparatively to our Ready to Rumble characters, I mean, we kind of weren't supposed to care. I mean, I guess kind of we were supposed to care about our three main characters.
But that's
About
pretty much it.
yeah, and it
I
was
think I'm gonna
also at
give
this.
round one to Secret Ballot. Just
I would agree, yeah, and begrudgingly a bit because I know that you know we are so you know they were unique characters, they were well-rounded characters, but I think also at the same time they were also big on sabotaging them to kind of like Daffy Duck them a little bit and make you know just as we're starting to care about them, they do something stupid and kind of make us go, "Ah, these guys," you know. And so, yeah, I think just by the yeah, okay, I'll stop talking because I'm agreeing with you.
And for round two, I think I got to give it to Ready to Rumble.
Yeah, oh for sure.
I
Kind of
mean,
unfair
going
to
for
say
the
so,
technical,
but
like the technical win, everything like that. I'm sorry, like they did a wrestling movie,
yeah,
and the wrestling stunts in the movie were great. The
yep.
fantastical nature of
The
the
final match, yeah,
fans and
yep.
everything that went with this, I think Ready to Rumble absolutely just crushed
Oh,
that.
for sure, yeah,
Which one to recommend going forward? I got to give that one a draw, dude. I mean, because
yeah,
it
because
is to the right. You know what? No, I'm gonna give Ready to Rumble because I know in my life and just in my world, I'm going to meet more people that I would recommend Ready to Rumble to over Secret Ballot.
yeah, I would feel the exact opposite. I feel like I would be recommending Secret Ballot to more people than I would Ready to Rumble personally.
Ooh,
They both have a very niche set of fans that I feel would appreciate them. I don't see myself recommending Ready to Rumble to as many people as I would Secret Ballot.
see now here, like, and this is why I'm really glad that I was able to watch with my wife
Hmm.
because not a wrestling fan
Right.
way enjoyed Ready to Rumble.
Okay.
Uh, so it crossed into comedy fans.
Okay. Okay. I see what you're
So just
saying.
as a comedy, doesn't have to be wrestling fans. Just as a comedy, it landed because it landed with both of us as well. And I'm not a wrestling fan.
True. Okay. That's a fair
So
point.
I think like, and I know that you're a wrestling fan, so you're looking through it with some slightly tinted glasses.
Yeah.
But I don't think you need to be a wrestling fan to find the hilarity.
No, I think you're right. You're probably true. Probably right. That's probably true.
So ready to rumble?
Yeah, I guess so. By a nose.
I know, and that is the thing. That is by a nose
Mm.
because damn, I don't really know what else to really say about that one. And ah, ready to rumble. We win again. I want to check this out because the poll that we were going through for this week, I feel like Secret Ballot actually got more votes than I was expecting.
Really?
I think so. I'm trying to remember if it was this week or last week. Yeah, Secret Ballot got 8% of the vote. And Ready to
Well,
Rumble only got 62% of the vote. And the third option got 31% of the vote because I made it too enticing.
what was the third option?
I'd rather walk the witch's road.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah,
We were
that's
watching Agatha all along. It was in my head. I couldn't think of anything else. And everybody died. Oh, spoilers.
yeah,
But
yeah.
did you finish that one yet?
Nope, not yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, yeah, I couldn't figure out what to do, and that song was stuck in my head. So, but I was surprised that Secret Ballot got 8% of the vote because
I mean,
some of
I'm
the
glad
movies
that
that you have brought in have gotten zero, and I did
yes.
not think people would be able to would catch up on that one. So
You know,
that is a
I'm
bit of a
glad to see that
surprise.
some of us are getting some culture out here. Welcome, my people. Like
Fuck. Acting like my people ain't cultured. We like our wrestling goofy shit.
Wait, what was? I'm trying to remember here some of the movies that like I understand not winning, but there are some movies that I have been floored have gotten a flat 0% on the choice, and I'm trying to remember which ones those were. But like I'm fine with losing the vote. I get that I pick all the weird artsy fartsy films that's not for everyone, but some of these that all y'all give a 0 vote for, I'm offended that you're not even going to consider them.
Well, what are our zero vote ones? Like that's
Oh
there
yeah,
were
you can
very,
probably pull
very
up.
few. Serpent and the Rainbow won.
Right. Okay. Right. Yeah.
That beat 13 Ghosts, which I was a little surprised. The Wrong Guy. The Wrong Guy got 0.
Right. Who the fuck do you people think you are?
But that was compared to Stir of Echoes. And Stir of Echoes is a pretty damn good
Nah,
movie.
that's true. That is true.
Like
Yeah.
that, like
That,
if
that
we
was a
put
that
that
was
up
a tough
against,
call. That there. Yeah. Yeah.
but what do you got for me for next week?
I don't know.
Let's see.
I
What
need to
do
find
I?
my. I need to find my
We're
notebook.
in November, so we got some. Oh, ooh, no, that's a little horror. We just did We just did October. I think I can give you a break on that one.
Oh, thank you for your mercy.
Did you ever see The Good Son?
Oh, the Macaulay Culkin remake of The Bad Seed. Yes, I did see that.
Yeah, like that's the one I was thinking about doing, but that's a little rough.
Yeah.
I wonder if I got a good foreign film that we could bring in.
Ooh, yeah. I would. Yeah.
Yeah,
Take a
but
look at
like
your list.
all the really really good horror like foreign films that I know are either martial arts films or horror films.
Well, martial those count. I mean, yeah. I don't have we done a straight up martial arts film yet?
I don't think we
Other
have, so I think that's what I'll come in. I'll come in with one of my favorite martial arts films.
okay.
Yeah, I'll do The
Let's
Legend
sit.
of Drunken Master.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to remember if I've seen that.
Not the original, not the one from like the 70s or 80s. The one that the remake when Jackie Chan was a little bit older.
I don't think I've seen that one. Okay.
You may not have seen the original one actually. Most people don't realize.
No, I think I saw the sequel. I think I saw like of the original Drunken Master movies. I think I saw number 2, and that's it.
Okay. Well, I'll make sure that you're watching the right one.
Okay.
All
In
right.
that
So,
case,
Legend of Drunken Master starring Jackie Chan. And what do you have for me to
let me
juxtapose
see
that one?
here.
This is weird.
Hmm.
It is called Drunken Master 2. Ah, thank you. Okay, it's listed on IMDb as Drunken Master 2, but on the actual movie title, it's The Legend of Drunken Master.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. You know what they did when Jackie Chan got popular in America? They grabbed a bunch of his old films from like his early days, re-released them, and tried to market them as new movies in America. And so, like, and they even changing the title while they were doing it. Like Operation Condor came out in America like 10 years after it came out in China,
Well, yeah,
and
because
and they gave
they did modern dubbing with Jackie Chan because the dubbing that they did first was not Jackie.
right, exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. And then and Operation Condor isn't even the name of the movie. It's actually a sequel to another movie called Armor of God. And this was Armor of God 2, Operation Condor, and here they just called it Operation Condor.
Mm-hmm. No,
Yeah,
I knew that it was a sequel, but I thought it was like a sequel to Super Cop or something.
right,
Uh,
yeah. Which
all right.
even the Super Cop that we know is actually Super Cop 3.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
There are two other, and they're called Police Story. They're
but
called Police Story, and Super Cop is Police Story 3.
fair enough. I
Mhm.
will say though, Legend of Drunken Master is one of my very that might be my favorite Jackie Chan movie.
It is a pretty good one. If it's the one I'm thinking of, it is a pretty
It
damn
is.
good one. Yeah.
It's like
Um.
well because the original like Drunken Master, the first one, Jackie Chan plays a young brash dick,
Yes. Yep.
and I didn't like him in that role. That was not enjoyable to me. The second one, he's more to like he's got his comedy roots like well established. And
Okay.
that's why I like the Legend of Drunken Master, which is covering that one.
Right. Okay. I think I'm going to go with The World According to Garp.
The World According to Garp. All right,
Yep.
tell us a little bit about it.
The World According to Garp. It's kind of a, I mean, you'd almost call it a biopic, except that it's a fictional character. It just spans this guy's whole life. He has a very peculiar upbringing, very weird life. It starts out as kind of comedic and sort of draws more dramatic as time goes on. But it
Okay.
is, oh, well, it will. Sorry, I buried the lead here. It stars Robin Williams as Garp.
Oh.
So yes, it'll be emotional. But there is a scene in this movie that once I saw it, I've never forgotten it, and I have literally used the scene in this movie as advice to my children.
Fair
So
enough.
we'll
Okay.
get to that where like literally yes, The World According to Garp, starring Robin Williams, and yes, I have used scenes from this movie in raising my children. So
All right, well, there you have it, guys. Next week is going to be The Legend of Drunken Master and The World According to Garp. All right, from now until then, I hope you guys are safe, and I hope you manage the madness pretty well.
one way or another, we'll get through this together.
We'll see you next week.